Chapter 51. Ahead, in the woodland formed by towering trees, a small group of two-headed wolves were probably hungry. He left the herd and began to hunt down several unicorns. Neither side used magic. Instead, it uses the most primitive means of chasing and killing. Except for the few prey that were targeted, the other unicorn tribes seemed not to notice. They were still leisurely eating grass or lying on the ground playing, without panicking and running away. The two-headed wolves also had a tacit understanding. Sometimes I would rather jump over the unicorn that blocks my way, nor did they look for easier targets. There is no pressure to survive. Isn't this life too idle? And this recovery speed? It's too scary. Qin Tian stared at one of the unicorns that escaped after being bitten by a two-headed wolf. The wound on the abdomen was bleeding. In the blink of an eye, the bleeding stopped and the wound began to heal. Then, Qin Tian controlled his consciousness and instinctively moved to the side. I watched helplessly as this unicorn, which had managed to escape, rushed directly into the passage. Ding, planet origin plus 0.02. The system prompts that appear in consciousness. Qin Tian was stunned. Soon, as the two-headed wolves chased after them into the passage, two prompts sounded in succession. Ding, planet origin plus 0.03. Ding, planet origin plus 0.05. Stand still for a moment. Qin Tian turned and looked at the crowd in the woods. The numerous and densely packed two-headed wolves and unicorns, it was as if I was looking at a large area of origin waving at me. The origin of this demon beast, it is actually dozens of times more powerful than those wild beasts in the Star of 10,000 Beasts. Is it because of the rich vitality contained in King Mu Star? The majestic life energy aura caused by the wood-attributed magic element? So, a creature that has absorbed life energy, only this much life essence can be sacrificed. It must be so. Qin Tian hesitated for a while. In the end, he gave up the urge to plunder the origin immediately. The 600 million insect swarms on Mars that had arrived at the periphery of the restricted area, burned to ashes by that cosmic creature. The other insect swarms that are coming will take time. What can be used now? There is only the main parasite family. But the killer war bug's combat power is too low. It's okay to drive away a group of wild beasts, the casualties in fighting against the monsters would surely be huge. Even if all the 300,000 plus killer war bugs were transferred here, the efficiency is not high either. It will also cause the war insect swarm to be quickly consumed and destroyed. The animal warrior bug can barely do the job. But the number is too small. There are only more than 28,000 of them. It also doesn't work. In addition to the inevitable casualties during the expulsion, the efficiency is even worse. The remaining 104th generation whiptail dragons, sending them in would only be a waste of time. Adjust your mood. Qin Tian possessed his consciousness in the body of the reconnaissance annihilator warbug. The main civilization monster appeared in sight. It is a group of giant birds similar to eagles. After commanding the warbugs to charge and observe for a while, it was discovered that the attack methods of this main race were nothing special. Released, it is a large area of vines, a kind of half-binding and half-attacking magic. But the vitality of recovery is so strong that it is outrageous. Several bone spurs pierced his body. Not only did he not die, it recovered as before in just a few breaths. After waiting for several days, the animal switch brought back the corpses of the main race from the two planets. An ice demon, plus a few eagle monsters. Qin Tian waited quietly for the Queen Mother to finish swallowing and absorbing the genes. Opening his mouth, using the ice demon gene as the main component and the frost dragon gene as the auxiliary component, we will fuse and evolve the 5th generation of war bugs. Using the eagle vulture genes as the main component and the frost dragon genes as the supplement, we will fuse and evolve the 6th generation of war bugs. Qin Tian gave 2 orders in succession. Compared with the past, this time, the will he conveyed was extremely clear. Currently, the dragon gene is the most powerful. If we reproduce according to the Queen Mother's instinct, it will only continue to evolve by fusion of dragon genes as the main one. Even if the combat capability of the next generation is enhanced, it is estimated that it will not be much higher than that of the whiptail dragon. In the limited time before the big competition, he could only try to evolve some war bugs with special abilities. Follow the will of the master. The Queen Mother responded. The dragon head bowed down and its eyes closed. Start to deploy the genetic sequences within the fusion body. 4 days later, after dinner, I returned to the dormitory. Qin Tian sensed something. Immediately sink into consciousness into Mars, he looked up at the 2 generations of war bugs that had just rushed out of the nest and were soaring in the sky. Over 4 years, the first batch of 605th and 6th generation war bugs finally passed the long growth cycle. From hatching to juvenile and then growing to adult. Both generations of war bugs still have distinct dragon characteristics. One of them has blue spots all over its body. The other type is covered with a dense layer of small, semicircular scales. Besides, the appearance is not much different from that of the whiptail dragon with a closed tail. But its body is a little smaller than the whiptail dragon, which is over 100 meters long. It is also larger than the animal war bug. In terms of combat power, over 100,000 points. For the entire parasitic insect colony, it is a very serious degradation. Almost half the size of a whiptail dragon. Although the combat power of the 2 generations of war bugs is not high and far from reaching the evolutionary standard, they are only reproductive bodies, not evolutionary bodies. But their abilities are outstanding. Especially against magical creatures, it has a very strong inhibitory effect. Plus the whiptail dragon, facing the fire phoenix and the demon dragon in the competition. We should be able to win, right? Qin Tian stared at the information interface of the 2 generations of war bugs. I was a little unsure in my heart. The Fire Phoenix clan is easier to deal with. But the Demon Dragon clan is famous for their strong physique. And it is an extremely rare dark attribute species. But there is no way. The distance to Dabi is getting closer and closer. The remaining time was not enough for him to deal with stronger dragon creatures. Ponder it for a while. Qin Tian named the 2 generations of war bugs respectively. The 5th generation of breeding war insects, devouring dragon. The 6th generation of reproductive war insects, the blue dragon. Chapter 52. May 10th, 149th year of the Great Xia calendar. For most people in Pingxi, just an ordinary day. But in Linen City, it is an annual event. Early in the morning, the entire Linen City was in a state of boiling. On the street, everywhere was crowded with people. The noisy sound waves piled up layer upon layer in the air. Especially as the carriages slowly approached, it also completely ignited the already high enthusiasm of countless people. The crowd pushed back to make way, while shouting excitedly. Because these carriages, the horses pulling the cart were no ordinary horses, but various giant reptiles. The characteristics are remarkable. So obviously, those sitting in the carriage were all contestants from the Zerg Academy who were participating in the competition this year. In one of the carriages pulled by a giant ice crystal scorpion, Qin Tian opened the window of the car. Wow! A strong wave of sound immediately surged in. Isn't the excitement of this year's competition too exaggerated? Qin Tian looked at the dense crowds on both sides of the street. He frowned and rubbed his ears, which were hurt by the shock. Normal. Aren't there 2 creators of the Warcraft civilization participating this year? Xiang Hanlin, who was sitting opposite, shouted loudly. Fatty Bear is also a contestant in this competition. It is said that on the 2nd day of the internal competition, this guy was extremely lucky and evolved his tiger-spotted wolf spiders to the 7th generation. Finally challenged the next seeded player. He defeated several people in a row. Finally got the last place. In addition to the 2 people in the car, also sitting there was Song Zipping, who had taken the lead in challenging Qin Tian. They are both contestants representing the Zerg Academy. The 3 of them didn't have any grudges in their hearts at this time. Hearing this, he smiled and said, "It's all thanks to the city guard's tireless efforts in promoting it. Not only did people from more than a dozen surrounding towns come here, it also attracted quite a few people from the other 3 countries. Here, look at those." Song Zipping pointed outside. Really, there were many people in the crowd wearing strange clothes. Also, wherever the carriage passed, there were also many civilians kneeling and kowtowing along the streets. Seeing this scene, the 3 of them looked calm and showed no signs of surprise. Usually in the Creator Academy, everyone has the same identity and seems ordinary. There are even internal competitions like this. He speaks without restraint and uses foul language like a scoundrel. But in the eyes of the lower class civilians, even the worst Zerg civilization creator, they are all far more noble and transcendent than the ordinary family children. If they got out of the car and killed someone with a knife, not only will the patrolling guards not punish him, instead, they will arrest the relatives and friends of the murdered people and put them in jail for questioning. Such is the privilege and position of the creator. A group of carriages went straight out of the East City Gate. More than a decade ago, in order to accommodate the large number of spectators, the city defense office moved the entire competition venue outside the city. Once out of the city gate, then you can see simple houses stretching out in the distance on both sides. There is almost no end in sight. At the end of sight, you can also see countless craftsmen at work. Tisk tisk, I heard a while ago that the inns and restaurants in the city were overcrowded. The city defense office hastily built numerous sheds outside the city to provide for those who come to watch the battle. The price is ridiculous, as expected. Damn it, when it comes to making money, no one is as ruthless as the government. Fatty Bear cursed. You're not bad either. Qin Tian teased. Song Zipping grinned awkwardly. He seemed to be still lamenting the 100,000 gold he had given away like an idiot during the internal competition. Brother Qin, do you know how much it costs to stay in those sheds for one night? Without waiting for Qin Tian to speak, Fatty Bear then stretched out 2 fingers and gestured, 2,000 gold a night. That doesn't include meals. These 2 places look like they cost at least tens of thousands of gold. I am nothing compared to them. How can anyone live here when it's so expensive? Qin Tian wondered. 2,000 gold is almost half a year's income for an ordinary civilian. And according to the market conditions, an ordinary inn costs only a dozen gold coins a night. It is said that the starting price of newly built sheds has been raised to 4,000 or 5,000 gold in the past 2 days, and even then the supply is still insufficient to meet the demand. Song Zipping obviously also knew about the relevant situation. If the government hadn't prohibited outsiders from interfering in this business, I would have done it a long time ago. This is just FG money grabbing. Fatty Bear smacked his lips. He also said, and the tickets to the competition venue. The private rooms are as high as hundreds of thousands, and ordinary seats are also tens of thousands of gold. Damn it, it's really a maggot heart. Haha, isn't the competition held by the city guard mansion just to generate revenue? Qin Tian smiled indifferently. Pingzi was cold and poor. The creator's salary allocated from the national treasury is limited. Most of the problems have to be solved by the 5 major cities themselves. If we don't rely on the annual competition to make a lot of money, Linen City probably can't even afford the monthly salaries of tens of thousands of creators in the 3 major academies. At this time, the convoy slowly stopped. There is a group of soldiers setting up a checkpoint ahead to intercept us. A large crowd had already gathered in front of the checkpoint. It's not even time to enter yet and we're being stopped outside. Certainly, like a wealthy family who bought a private room, or the children of noble families are eligible to enter early. The carriages they were riding in were put in one after another. The ordinary civilians had no complaints at all. It is a society with a strict class system. Where is the concept of equality for all? As a student participating in the competition, you naturally have privileges. Enter the level. We drove for another 10 minutes. Finally, a huge building covering several kilometers gradually appeared in sight. Chapter 53. The carriage stopped in front of the huge venue. All the participating students got off the bus one after another. Around the huge venue. In addition to some dignitaries, wealthy businessmen who entered the market early. The largest number of people were groups of soldiers arranging seats. There were densely packed circles around the venue. Obviously, the competition not only has an inner field, an outfield was also arranged. Expensive tickets compared to the inner field. The outfield is certainly not going to be much cheaper. In front of a circle of seats, there are also many engineers from Anton installing projection equipment. Dark blue modern work clothes and white round hard hat. At first glance, it almost made Qin Tian feel like he had returned to his previous life. As a technological power, Andong's industrial chain is spread across major cities and towns in the 4 countries. Large projectors needed to prepare for large events are their most basic products. Pooh! It's a thing with a black maggot in its heart. Fatty Bear saw the rows of seats. He cursed again with extremely jealous look. For a person who loves money and likes to make money, this scene is as uncomfortable as seeing purple and gold cards everywhere but being unable to bend down to pick them up. In the carriages ahead, the dean led several instructors out of the car. Qin Tian's strength has not yet been officially certified. Su Jian has not taken over the Zerg Academy for the time being. Therefore, this competition still needs the current dean to take the lead. But, 7 instructors, including the dean, everyone followed Su Jian's lead. Always by your side with a smile on your face. Qin Tian, after getting off the bus, all the students gathered together consciously. Brother Qin, I haven't seen you for half a month. How is your race developing? Cheng Song, your question is wrong. Even if Brother Qin hasn't made much progress in the past half month, so what? That's right. With Brother Qin's strength in the internal competition, it should be easy for him to get into the top 20 in the competition. Not just the first 20, have you forgotten those dragon creatures Brother Qin has? Ha ha ha, in my opinion, those dragons are definitely stronger than Brother Qin's third generation evolution. That's right, I wouldn't be surprised even if Brother Qin made it into the top 10. With Brother Qin here this year, our Zerg Academy can finally shine. Facing the admiration of a group of people around, Qin Tian just smiled implicitly. But I didn't say anything in my heart. If it's just for the top 10, why should he be busy on the planet all day and night during this period? Look! People from the Botanical College are here. Someone shouted to the rear. Far away. Dozens of carriages were approaching slowly. Pulling the cart in front were 3 people of various tall sizes. Not long after, students dressed in emerald green robes stepped out of the carriage one by one. The clothing styles of the creators from the 3 major colleges are similar. Uniform specially made gold-threaded long gown. But in order to distinguish one from another, in addition to the ethnic civilization nameplate embroidered on the chest, the colors are also very bright. For example, all the students in the Zerg Academy wear grey clothes. The Botanical College is green. I heard from the people in the Botanical College that a lot of ancient civilizations have emerged from their college this year. Isn't this normal? With so many students in the Botanical College every year, there will always be some lucky ones. No, there is. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's said that there seems to be a female student who has merged with an ancient planet. Ancient. Yes. So scary. The people who just didn't care, suddenly, everyone's faces turned pale and they gasped. Even Qin Tian couldn't help being shocked when he heard this. In the biological civilization branch, plant civilization is the most special and most useless anomaly. They cannot rapidly evolve by cannibalizing their own kind. There is no obvious difference in strength between different plant species. The only means of evolution, it can only rely on a long growth period to slowly pile up. The longer the growth time, the stronger it is. The creator cannot interfere. Therefore, plant civilization is not like other biological civilizations. Measure the strength of a race according to its evolutionary generations. But time. It is divided into 7 levels with time as the index. Those within 100 years are collectively referred to as the newborn class. Next are the recent ancient level of more than 100 years, the ancient level of 1,000 years, the ancient level of 10,000 years, the ancient level of 100,000 years, the ancient level of 1,000,000 years, and the eternal level of tens of millions years. That's why it's useless. This is because when the creator of plant civilization merged, the initial level of plant species on its planet, this basically determines the final upper limit. The life of the creator is limited. Even if I could live 100 years. 100 years in the outside world, more than 3,600 years on the planet. It is calculated based on the new generation planets that are generally integrated by the creator of plant civilization within 100 years. Throughout life, it can only reach the ancient level of civilization and cannot break through to the prehistoric level. When merging, you can see the endpoint at a glance. The evolution of other biological civilizations also requires a bit of luck. But no matter how dark your face is, as long as you keep trying, each generation is always a little stronger than the previous one. Repeated accumulation will eventually reach the evolutionary standard. And plant civilization really relies entirely on looks. This is the person who just spoke. The reason why it can be described as luck rather than genius. The combat power of the new students within 100 years is around several hundred. There are several thousand of the near-ancient class. Ancient level probably ranges from tens of thousands. And the ancient class? Qin Tian calculated silently in his mind. The time intervals for dividing the levels of plant civilization are extremely large. There is also a big gap in their combat capabilities. For example, the freshman class of 2010 and 2019, the combat power is definitely not comparable. But there has been a relatively accurate reference system over the years. Ancient level plant race combat power. It is equivalent to the 11th to 12th generation of evolution under the normal standard evolution of Zerg civilization. The minimum starting price is 100,000. The highest is around 200,000. If the combat power is infinitely close to 200,000, Qin Tian pursed his lips. Looking at the person in the distance who was obviously surrounded by a group of contestants from the Botanical College, the female student seemed like the center of attention. Suddenly I felt this year's competition seems a bit tricky. Chapter 54. Hey, Dean Ma, you guys are here so early. See the Zerg Academy that arrived here first. The Dean of the Botanical College immediately came over with the instructors. The group of participating students naturally followed. But these students did not come over. Deliberately keep a distance from the people from the Zerg Academy. Although his ability isn't that great, he's quite enthusiastic in participating in the competition. How can you not be proactive? If you don't arrive earlier, do you think you will make us wait for them? That's called self-awareness. Several instructors from the Botanical College murmured something. But we are not far away. He was coming again. No matter how low the voice is, it is impossible not to hear it. Dean Ma smiled awkwardly. I can only pretend I didn't hear it. Opening his mouth, Dean Wang, you are here. I say, old Ma, seeing how proud you are, I guess you are confident that you can get a good ranking this year. A genius has appeared. He should be able to make it into the top 20. Dean Ma glanced at Su Jian beside him and made a conservative estimate. That's okay, it's a big improvement over previous years. Dean Wang said casually. The instructors behind him couldn't help but roll their eyes. Over the years, I couldn't even make it into the top 100. Still the top 20? Even if you brag, you have to be realistic. That. Dean Ma looked at Dean Wang, who smiled and stared at him without saying anything after perfunctorily answering. He then looked at the instructors behind him who were also staring at him. Although I am very reluctant to climb this ladder, but under so many eyes, I could only smile bitterly and ask, what about you? Call. Several instructors from the Botanical College collectively breathed a sigh of relief. Comfortable. Dean Wang, who was waiting for this sentence, immediately smiled and said, it's not bad. There is only one genius who merged with an ancient race planet. It seems that the ancient level hasn't been released for more than 50 years. What stage is it? Dean Ma asked. The ladders are all set up, I wouldn't mind adding one more. That's it, good luck, probably in the middle stage. Middle stage? Then I should be able to break through to the ancient stage in the end of the year. The ancient times are a bit difficult, but this competition is. Hee. Dean Ma smiled and didn't say anything else. I really don't want to see the other party's dominant face again. Dean Wang didn't care. He spoke loudly to himself, but since it's a big competition, we can compete with the two Warcraft civilizations. It's probably unrealistic to win. I can barely get third place. Ha ha ha. After that, Dean Wang couldn't help but burst out laughing. The next few instructors smiled and looked at people with their eyes wide open. Even the group of students from the Botanical College puffed out their chests and showed a hint of contempt at this moment. This made Dean Ma, a group of instructors, and the people from the Zerg Academy extremely uncomfortable. Every year, the Zerg Academy always ranks last every year without exception. Every year they become the target of ridicule and mockery from the audience. I thought a genius had emerged this year. Finally I can hold my head high. No need to endure the ridicule and teasing of outsiders anymore. But they didn't expect that the Botanical College, which originally took over their last place, suddenly became vigorous. So fierce, to a degree that they dare not even imagine. So, are you still not standing up straight this year? Humph, isn't it just luck that I merged with an ancient race? What's so great about that? Look at how they look down on others. You deliberately stay so far away from us. Are you embarrassed to be with us? Bah, what a bunch of snobs. A group of contestants from the Zerg Academy had a lot of smiles on their faces. I felt both aggrieved and helpless. Some people glanced at Qin Tian and wanted to say something tough. But, I really don't have the confidence. Even the usually stubborn fatty bear had an expression on his face where he dared not speak out but was angry. Although Qin Tian evolved a dragon-like creature. But first of all, the Zerg's characteristics are obvious and they certainly cannot be compared with the real dragons. Secondly, no one has ever seen how powerful these creatures are. And, after the internal competition, Fatty Bear revealed the combat power of Qin Tian's third-generation war bugs. A combat power of 25,800. With reference comparison, no matter how powerful those dragon-like creatures are, there is a limit to how strong they can be. It is impossible to be a match for the ancient races. After all, that is an existence that can compete with the two top-level Warcraft races. Midterm. Qin Tian secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The middle stage of the ancient period is approximately 50,000 years. The corresponding combat power is around 150,000. Not to mention that his 4th generation whiptail dragon with 200,000 combat power completely crushed him. At least we can maintain the victory. At this time, a group of ferocious beasts were pulling carriages and coming rapidly. The car in the front almost hit someone from the botanical college. He stopped in front of them carelessly. A burly man with a full beard jumped out of the carriage first. He laughed and shouted, "Ha ha ha, Lao Ma, Lao Wang, you guys came really early." Dean Ma. Dean Wang. A group of students from the Savage Beast Academy dressed in black came down later. He glanced over here and snorted contemptuously. The disdain was evident in his words. The instructors and students from the Botanical College who just had such a proud attitude. They had all collapsed already. Chapter 55. From college to down to the branch. Whether it is external or internal, a clear chain of contempt naturally forms. The strong look down on the weak. Human nature. The weak fear the strong. It's also human nature. Certainly, if it were previous years, the people from the Botanical College might even dare to challenge the Beast College. But who can blame them for releasing 2 Warcraft civilizations this year? Choo, a long bird song suddenly sounded at this moment. Then a large shadow covered the area. In the sky, a colorful bird with a wingspan of 100 meters glided by. There was a man and a woman sitting on it. The man was dressed in snow white, with sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, and he looked handsome and elegant. The woman's colorful skirt and long flowing hair made her look like a fairy. Everyone looked up at the sky. A group of students from the barbarian beast civilization became even more arrogant when they saw this. The people from the Botanical Academy and the Zerg Academy all looked in awe. That's the Warcraft civilization. Since the opening of Linen City 100 years ago, the only 2 creators of the Warcraft civilization who have arrived. And it is also one of the top 10 powerful races in the Warcraft civilization. As expected of the creator of Warcraft civilization, even his appearance is so stunning. The ones up there are even more stunning. It is said that the man's name is Lin Tianyang, and he comes from the Lin family, a wealthy family in the royal city. The main civilization is the Demon Dragon clan. Oh? What about the girl? The woman's name is Duan Yuding. She is the daughter of the Duan family, a large family in Linen City. The main civilization is the Fire Phoenix clan. A dragon and a phoenix? They are a good match. What do you mean by a good match? Whether it's family background or appearance, they are a perfect match, okay. So, this young master of the Lin family came to Linen City to pursue the girl of the Duan family. Why do you think a great creator of the dragon race would condescend to come to Linen City? Logically speaking, Duan Yuding should go to the royal city, and the Fire Phoenix civilization is fully qualified to do so. I heard that he stayed in Linen because he was attached to his hometown and didn't want to go far away. A group of people from the Zerg Academy looked up and talked about it with envy. If I'm not mistaken, that mount doesn't seem to be a demon beast, but a wild beast. Someone looked at the Luan bird in the sky and asked. What's wrong with the wild beast? It's not a beast summoned by someone else. Bought it. Nonsense, but the price is too expensive, most people can't afford it. It's not a question of whether you can afford it, it's a question of whether you are qualified. Yes, my Song family is also a very prestigious family in Linen City. Let alone wild beasts, we are not even eligible to buy a Zerg creature. The creator who died of old age or an accident. In addition to its fused planets, the summoned creatures will also be left behind. This biological group far exceeds humans. It is worthy of being called a national treasure. They are generally nationalized. Some also end up on the black market. But the number is extremely rare. There is basically no demand for it. No power or status, no amount of money can buy it. Only the real powerful people in the royal city like the Lin family, only then can you buy a wild beast to use as a mount for the family members. Amid the envy of the crowd below, the Luan birds in the sky circled, it landed directly on the top of the venue. There is also an entrance at the top of the competition venue. Alright, students, follow me into the arena. Dean Ma greeted him. The people from the Zerg Academy followed behind the other 2 academies. They began to enter the venue one after another. Wow! This place is quite spacious. It's so big, it must seat tens of thousands of people. As soon as I stepped through the gate, everyone was shocked. The venue is really too big. The 3 colleges together have a team of less than 100 people. Walking in the field is like a group of tiny ants. In the middle of the venue, there stands a high platform. On the stage is a battle room. Above, hang a straight pipe. 4 huge light curtains were flashing at the bottom of the pipe. Several engineers from Anton were hanging on safety ropes and doing the final debugging work. Around the platform, there are countless circles of seats arranged in a stepped manner. There are 5 more floors upstairs. Each floor is densely packed with private rooms. There are 4 light curtains at the pipes corresponding to the floors. It can present the best viewing angle. Damn it, I still underestimated the evilness of the government. According to this layered box design, the price will definitely increase incrementally. The dozen or so boxes on the top 5th floor must cost millions. Fatty Bear muttered. Qin Tian just found it funny. Everyone who came in was amazed at the grand scale of the venue. The first thing this guy sees is the price and how much money he can make. He is truly a man from a merchant family who only cares about money. Chapter 56. The position of the contestants. The 3 rows of seats at the front are arranged to facilitate the battle on stage. A group of instructors were led by staff to the 2nd floor box. There are 10 seats in a row. There are upward aisles on both sides. To the left of the Zerg Academy is the Botanical Academy. There was an aisle separating the 2 sides. Further away in another aisle are the people from the Savage Beast Academy. The contestants took their seats. Not long. The audience who bought tickets began to enter in an orderly manner. The number of people is increasing. The huge venue, from the initial emptiness and silence to the gradual bustle and noise. Tens of thousands of people gathered together. Even if everyone talks in a low voice, when mixed together, it creates a buzzing sound like that of a vegetable market. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the venue. Entrance. 2 elderly men in their 60s were being escorted up the side stairs by a large group of people. Behind him were dozens of guards with swords. Those following behind are all the heads of the well-known and prominent families in Linen City. The middle-aged man in grey clothes. He is the city guard of Linen City and the head of the Zhang family. Fatty Bear, who was sitting next to Qin Tian, took a look and said. As a local merchant family, some upper-class people are basically aware of it. Then, this guy couldn't help but add in a low voice, he is also the boss who is behind this competition. Obviously. As for the huge amount of money collected from this competition, this has always bothered Fatty Bear. The 2 old men in the front look unfamiliar, and they don't look like locals. However, the city lord and the heads of various families all followed behind obediently as a foil. Their identities. It should be the special envoy from the royal city. Qin Tian responded. He remembered that during the competition, the royal city would also send people to observe. Brother Qin is absolutely right. The one on the left is the special envoy from the royal city, and the other one with grey hair is the official from the Ministry of Rights from the capital. Zhang Yuanian, who was sitting on the other side, spoke up. When we were chatting earlier, several people are familiar with each other. The Zhang family is a truly big family that can be ranked among the top 10 in Linen City. His family background is much higher than that of Song Zipping, whom Qin Tian knew. Among those who had just accompanied the special envoy and officials from the Ministry of Rights, among them is the head of the Zhang family. At the same time, Zhang Yuanian is also the strongest player this time except Qin Tian. The race under his command has evolved to the point where it is almost at the 9th generation of evolution. The combat power is more than 18,000. It's okay for the royal city's special envoy to come, why would someone from the Ministry of Rights of the capital come? Of course, there will be a ceremony to confer a title. This year, the first place winner will be given the title of Viscount, so the Emperor of Daxia will definitely need to issue an edict to confer the title. Haha, this is really unnecessary. It's just a formality. Although the Great Xia Kingdom had long been in name only. But in the end the country was not destroyed. The 4 major feudal states did not establish their own countries. In name, still a subject of Daxia. So, the conferment of this title still requires some formalities. But the real owner entered the scene. This indicates that the competition is about to begin. Soon, then a host came up to the stage carrying a high-frequency microphone. Everyone. Welcome everyone to visit Linen City's annual 3 hospital competition. Under the impatient gaze of the audience, the host was very tactful and shortened the opening remarks. Let me start by explaining the rules of the competition. Since there are 2 Warcraft Civilization creators participating this year, we have made some adjustments compared to previous years. The competition is divided into 3 stages in total. The first stage is a group battle. The second stage is the battle for supremacy. The third stage is the championship match. The Warcraft Civilization will appear as the finale, and there will be no need for group battles. In this regard, the audience was not too surprised. It seemed natural to the contestants. If you encounter Warcraft Civilization in the early stage, what the hell is that? Just admit defeat. For detailed rules, please watch the light screen. The host turned on the light screen. Display according to the screen rules. The 2 Warcraft civilizations are not included in the list of participants of the Savage Beast Academy. That is to say, the Beast Academy is the same as the Zerg and Plant Academy. A total of 30 ordinary players and 1 seeded player will participate. And the group battle. First, the teams were divided into 3 groups based on the 3 seeded players. The ordinary contestants are then divided equally into 3 groups. Each group has 31 people. In order to maintain fairness and justice, each of the 3 groups will be randomly assigned 10 Zerg players, 10 plant players, and 10 beast players. Combat mechanism: the battle is carried out in pairs. The winner advances to the next round. In addition, seeded players for each group. No need to participate in the first round of elimination, can directly enter the second round of group battle, compete with the 15 qualified contestants. Why is the group battle showing 4 rounds of battles? Generally speaking, doesn't it happen that one person wins in each group? Fatty Bear stared at the light screen in surprise. Others around him were also confused. A battle of 31 people. There will be 5 rounds of confrontation. Until the last person is decided. But there are only 4 wheels in the picture. So, this means that each group will have 2 qualifying spots. A total of 6 people advanced. Participate in the next stage of the battle for supremacy. This is the arrangement of the supervisory department. It is said that the Linen City Supervision Department is preparing to expand its scale. The 6 people who make it to the finals will be included in the list of candidates for the Linen City Supervisory Department. After graduation, you can directly take up the newly created position of governor in the supervisory department. The first person to speak was Zhang Yuanian. As a descendant of a large local family, I should have learned some information from my family in advance. The governor. All the contestants were shocked when they heard this. Qin Tian was also a little stunned. The supervisory office is a government office dedicated to managing the creator. And it was independent of the official system of Pingxi state. Under the direct control of King Pingxi. One can imagine his authority. The Dutong is the second in command besides the Si Zheng. He has hundreds of creator inspectors under his command. The power is so great, high status, for a big family like the Zhang family in Linen City, or the city guard of Linen, don't take it seriously. The most famous example is also the most terrifying. It is said that more than 10 years ago, a member of a royal family offended a governor of the inspectorate. That night, the commander-in-chief led his men to massacre the family. The whole clan has 381 people. No one will be left alive. Chapter 57. There were 5 supervisory offices in Pingxi state, distributed in the 5 cities where the creator is concentrated. Although the powers of the supervisory offices in each city vary, just like the Linen City Supervisory Office, it certainly can't be compared with the Royal City Supervisory Office. But the words of a supervisory general carry a lot of weight. All of them are superior to many ordinary officials in this city. In one area, truly, he is second to none. Such power, such a status, how can it not make people excited? If there are 6 qualifying spots in the group stage, maybe our Zerg Academy can get one. In my opinion, besides Brother Qin, Brother Zhang is also very promising. Yes, compared to previous years, if he's luckier, Brother Zhang might qualify. In previous years, Zerg Academy contestants, they are basically 5th generation evolutionary bodies. Very few have 6 generations. The Botanical College is not much different. People in the Savage Beast Academy are generally 1 level stronger. This year, Zerg Academies are springing up everywhere. Not only did the minimum number of participating students reach 7 generations, among them there are several 8th generations. In fact, the main reason is that the number of students enrolled this year is too many more than before. It's almost 3 times as much. In this case, it is not surprising that there are more outstanding ones. Facing the envious voices coming from a group of people, Qin Tian is fine. Besides being a little surprised by the news, I quickly regained my composure. He wasn't doing this for a mere district supervisory office. But it is the higher level title of Viscount of Champion. Zhang Yuanian was different. At this moment, it is inevitable that one's heart is pounding and face is flushed. He has no intention of competing for the first place. It's not realistic either. His goal is to qualify for the group stage. And, there is great hope indeed. The rules of the competition, seeded players in the first round of group matches do not need to participate. He just needs to avoid facing seeded players in the last 3 rounds. According to the combat power standards of the 3 major colleges in previous years, the 8th generation will have no problem qualifying. Once out of the line, after graduation, he became a supervisory general. Afterwards, the head of the Zhang family took the position of the defender of Linen City. It was just a matter of one word from him. However, just as Zhang Yuanian was daydreaming and receiving compliments from a group of people, as the host on stage switched to displaying the names of contestants from the 3 major colleges. After seeing the names of the other 2 major colleges, the levels and evolutionary generations are marked. Everyone was stunned. They are all ancient civilizations. How could the Botanical College have so many ancient civilizations? A group of people from the Zerg Academy exclaimed. In the screen, there are people from the Botanical College except that ancient seed player. The rest are all ancient civilizations. The ancient race is the benchmark. At the very least, they are comparable to the 8th generation evolved Zerg. The maximum combat power can reach 50,000 in the 10th generation. And the Savage Beast Academy? It's actually at least a 5th generation evolutionary body. There are also 2 6th generations and 1 7th generation. How can we fight this? Seeing the name of Savage Beast Academy on the other side, a chill suddenly rose in everyone's heart. Since the average combat power of the primitive beasts is nearly 1000, equivalent to the 4th generation of Zerg. So, the 5th generation of evolution of the barbarian civilization is equivalent to the 9th generation of the Zerg. Old Ma, your class of students is still not that good. Inside the second floor box, the dean of the Savage Beast Academy frowned when he saw the screen. This man's surname is Zhao and his given name is Meng. The name suits the person. He has always been carefree and outspoken. He said this without any sarcasm in his tone. Hey, Lao Ma, I heard that you could make it into the top 20, and I thought it was true. You may not even make it into the top 50, tisk tisk. Compared with Zhao Meng, Dean Wang of the College of Botany's words were too obviously sarcastic. It's like a slap in the face. The highest number is only 7. Their fighting power is equivalent to the weakest dozen people in our botanical college. If nothing unexpected happens, the top 50 will basically be taken by our 2 major colleges. Isn't this a common practice in previous years? However, the Zerg Academy can at least be in the top 100 this year. That's right, there are only about 90 people in total, ha ha ha. A group of instructors from the Botanical College were not so polite. They all burst into laughter. The shrill laughter, Dean Ma's face turned red. Several instructors from the Zerg Academy were extremely angry. At this moment, they finally experienced how they felt when they mocked Sujian. In previous years, the deans and instructors of the 3 major colleges, in fact, they get along quite harmoniously. No other, the Savage Beast Academy has never been on the same level as the other 2 academies. No matter how much you mock, you won't feel much pleasure. The Zerg and Botanical College are equally matched. It can be said that the elder brother does not laugh at the younger brother because they share the same suffering. But this year, the Botanical College suddenly became powerful. Become able to compete with the Savage Beast Academy. The brothers in distress of the past are still so weak. This sense of superiority came out all at once. Am I seeing things right? The seed player of the Zerg Academy is actually a 6th generation player. Dean Wang noticed Qin Tian's name at the top of the picture. Yes, Lao Ma, you ordinary players are 8 generations old, but why are the seeded players only 6 generations old? Is there something wrong? Zhao Meng also asked curiously. This student's 6th generation combat power is slightly higher than the 8th generation. Oh? How much combat power? It should be. Dean Ma glanced at Sujian. After a moment's hesitation, to avoid being slapped in the face again, he just pulled his face and replied angrily, more than 25,000 combat power. Oh, it's not bad, it's not bad, finally there is something that is somewhat presentable. Dean Wang immediately responded with a smile. You can't blame him for jumping like that. After all, the light screen image is clear at a glance. The 7th generation seed player from Savage Beast Academy, it is roughly equivalent to the 11th generation evolution of the Zerg. The combat power is probably over 100,000. The ancient seed players of the Botanical College have a combat power of over 150,000. If we don't count the 2 Warcraft civilizations, this year, his Botanical College is likely to defeat the Savage Beast College. Finally won the championship. This is the first time since he took over the position of Dean. This is unprecedented in the history of the College of Botany in the past 50 years. His name will go straight into the annals of the Botanical College. That's fine. Zhao Meng responded casually. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. The situation is so good nowadays. It can almost be described as a miracle year of the creator's flourishing energy. The Zerg Academy is still so decadent and weak. A seeded player, he is not even as good as the ordinary players from his own academy. Really? You can't prop up a wall with mud. Chapter 58. Hee. Inside the venue, Zhang Yuannian gave a sad smile of self-mockery. He was just dreaming of the position of governor. The bloody reality is, the weakest ordinary player is stronger than me. Don't even mention qualifying from the group stage. It is estimated that he will be kicked out in the first round. Qin Tian wanted to say something to comfort her. I also feel like it's easier said than done. I can only give up. Turn your head and look at the fat bear on the right. This guy is not as pessimistic as others. Instead, he looked very interested. Don't you feel a little bit of despair? Qin Tian asked. Why should I be desperate? I'm not planning on getting any rank. I just want to fight for the sake of showing my strength. Fat Bear shrugged. I'm in a good mood. It's not that we have a good attitude, it's that we have a good mindset. Fat Bear winked. Then he laughed again. Besides, if I can become a contestant and get my ticket waived, I'll make a fortune. You don't lack that either. Halfway through, Qin Tian paused. I sigh in my heart that no matter which world, the richer a person is, the more stingy he tends to be. This is actually quite normal. Fatty Bear pointed at the screen and said. Really? Qin Tian nodded. He understood what Fatty Bear meant. Everyone knows that because the number of students enrolled by the Zerg Academy this year is several times more than in previous years. A lot of talents emerged. However, they overlooked the fact that the other 2 major colleges also recruited a large number of students. In fact, in biological civilization, the planets merge every year, the most numerous is the barbarian beast civilization. Even the Botanical Academy ranks above the Zerg Academy. A huge number of people, as a result, the average number of evolutionary generations can be continuously improved by 2 levels. How could the other 2 be that bad? On the high platform. Under the host's control, start grouping. In the light screen, the first group is the seeded players from the Savage Beast Academy. The second group is the seeded players from the College of Botany. The third group is the seeded players from the Zerg Academy. That is the group Qin Tian is in. The names of the 3 seeded players remain unchanged. The names of the remaining 90 ordinary players flashed quickly and irregularly. After a while, grouping completed. Luckily, I was assigned to Brother Qin's third group. Me too. I'm in the first group. Damn. What bad luck. I was assigned to the second group where the seeded players from the Botanical College are. Looking at the frozen picture. The Zerg Academy players have both joy and sorrow. But that's all. Seeing the strength of other branches, basically, everyone no longer has any illusions. Start the first match, the host shouted. All the names jumped quickly. Soon, 2 of the names were frozen and enlarged and displayed on the screen. First match of the first round of the group. The third group. Xiang Hanlin from the Zerg Academy vs Hanbo from the Botanical Academy. The Tiger-Spotted Wolf Spider Tribe vs the Deadwood Treeman Tribe. The group battles are not in order. The matching system adopted is completely random. Ha ha ha, I'm so lucky. I'm the first one to go on stage. Fatty Bear stood up excitedly. Then he glanced at a person standing up from the Botanical College next to him. 4 Zerg Academy contestants, loudly said, my fellow students, watch me beat the shit out of that botanical college opponent. Come on. You must vent our anger for us. Blast him. Everyone immediately sent their blessings. Oh, you're just a 7th generation evolutionary being. What a joke. Let's see who beats who. Come on, Brother Han. A group of people from the Botanical College also gave their support without hesitation. Fatty Bear ignored it. Waved his hand. Like a warrior who goes to battle to the death. Climbed up to the platform, enter the battle room. After a while, a vast plane appeared in the light curtain. Xiong Hanlin was the first to float out of the space channel. 10,000 tiger-spotted wolf spiders that had evolved to the 7th generation followed suit and poured out. Compared with the first test, the tiger-spotted wolf spider has only grown a circle larger. Not obvious. The body shape of biological civilization will become fixed when it evolves to a certain extent. It won't grow endlessly. However, the patterns on the tiger-spotted wolf spider have completely turned golden. It reflects bursts of golden light in the sunlight. Opposite. Tree men, 5 or 6 meters tall, began to appear slowly. It's really slow, not an adjective. Walk one step at a time. It gives people a feeling of watching a slow-motion scene. In fact, this is also a common problem of the entire plant civilization. This is also the reason why its combat effectiveness is not high. The weakness is too obvious. This is still an ancient civilization. One can imagine how slow the reactions of the ancient and new plant species are. The dead tree man is grey in color. It has a relatively clear head and limbs. There are branches of varying lengths all over the body. There is a small cluster of green leaves growing on the branches extending from the head. In terms of quantity, only 6,000. This is the rule of the competition based on the strength of the 3 major civilizations. 10,000 Zerg. 6,000 plants. The number of wild beasts is even lower, only 2,000. After preparation, there was no nonsense between the two sides. He immediately ordered his tribesmen to launch an attack. The group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders spewed out white spider webs from afar. A large group of dead tree men rushed towards each other with all their might. This scene, many people watching laughed out loud. After all, with the slow pace of the tree man, a desperate charge, in fact, it is no different from ordinary people walking slowly. Moreover, patches of spider web stuck to the tree man's steps. Make it move more slowly. Even, my hands and feet were tied and I couldn't break free for a while. The dead tree man doesn't seem to be that strong. Yes, they can't break the spider web in a short time. Several Zerg students discussed. Perhaps. It's possible that the fat guy could win this battle. Qin Tian couldn't help but straighten his sitting posture. The fat bear in the picture obviously noticed this as well. At this point, he had obviously put away the casual attitude he had just used to deal with the battle. Become extremely cautious. The consciousness quickly shuttled back and forth among the swarm of tiger-spotted wolf spiders to command the battle. Haha, that fat student is also lucky. He actually met the weakest student among us. Hanbo only reached the ancient level not long ago, and has not yet completely condensed his race into anthropomorphic form. It's hard to say whether this battle will win or lose. It's okay, it's just the first battle, so what if we lose? Inside the box. A group of botanical college instructors were talking big. But no one cared. And a group of Zerg Academy instructors, including Su Jian and Dean Ma, they all subconsciously took a step forward and gathered in front of the French window. I gritted my teeth in pain. Staring at the battle situation on the screen. If we win the first battle, regardless of the final result, at least it can enhance the confidence of our Academy's contestants in the competition. By the way, save some face. Chapter 59. On the light screen. Dense spider webs poured down. The dead tree man had just torn off the spider web that was stuck on his body. It was immediately covered by more spider webs. The patches of white piled up like bloated cotton candy. Keep going, it will only make the tree man more and more passive. Hanbo in the sky also understood this. Immediately, he shouted with his will, "Tree state! Strangle!" The next moment, the tree people collectively stopped struggling. Being still shows a state of degradation. Dense branches quickly grew out of their bodies. The green leaves bloom quickly like flowers. In the blink of an eye, towering trees rise from the ground. The tree is complete. All the tree people stuck their hands into the ground at the same time. Boom boom boom. accompanied by bursts of intensive sounds of breaking ground. The thick and crisscrossed roots, it shuttled back and forth rapidly on the ground like a terrestrial dragon. Squeak! Amidst the earth-shaking screams, the group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders in the front took the brunt of the attack. The body was tightly strangled by the roots that spread out from the ground. As the roots tightened, nearly 1,000 tiger-spotted wolf spiders were quickly strangled into several pieces. Disperse! Rush! Kill! In a hurry, Fatty Bear shouted out 3 orders in succession. All the tiger-spotted wolf spiders immediately scattered. They rushed towards the opposite side in an overwhelming manner. Tree-like. Is this the attack method of plant civilization? Qin Tian stared at the battlefield scene with interest. He has always kept his sights on the barbarian beasts and the demon beast civilization. I don't know much about plant civilization. But obviously, this long-range attack by plant civilization is very energy-consuming. It grew roots and strangled a large group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders in the distance. The green leaves on each tree man began to turn yellow at a speed visible to the naked eye. Hanbo probably wanted to get closer to her. It would be best if you could charge into the group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders and then manifest the tree form, forming a large-scale tree man area. Fighting in this way will save a lot of energy. In the picture, more and more tiger-spotted wolf spiders pounced into the group of tree people. The poisonous needles protruding from the tail pierced crazily, inject venom into the tree man's body. Strong toxicity, let the branches and leaves of the tree people wither quickly, gradually lost its vitality. But the tree man's dying counterattack was equally fierce. Close combat has the advantage of fighting at home. Countless branches spread out from the body, entwining and squeezing. The tiger-spotted wolf spider suffered heavy losses. Almost every time a tree person dies, 2 or 3 tiger-spotted wolf spiders will die together. The situation on the battlefield was chaotic. It's hard to tell who has the upper hand and who has the lower hand. However, as time goes by, the battle situation gradually became clear. The numbers of both sides are decreasing. Finally, the few remaining tiger-spotted wolf spiders, under the joint strangulation of the 2 remaining tree men, it became a pool of minced meat. First match of the first round of the group. Hanbo from the Botanical College, wins. The presiding officer called out the verdict. This determined the outcome of this battle. Defeated. I lost after all. The light in the eyes of a group of Zerg Academy players slowly faded. Win. We won. I told you, that fat guy is bound to lose. Ha ha ha, he can't even beat our weakest player. That's for sure, otherwise why would it be called Zerg Academy? The people in the Botanical College cheered excitedly. I don't know why they are so happy. The ancient civilization fought against a 7th-generation evolutionary being like us, and we almost perished together, yet they still have the nerve to laugh. It was just a narrow victory. If it was someone from our 8th generation, Hanbo would not be a match for us. The people from the Zerg Academy all whispered in unison. But no one argued. Victory is victory, defeat is defeat. No matter how miserable the other side wins, nor can it erase the fact that they lost. In the box, the instructors of the Zerg Academy loosened their clenched fists. Dean Ma's chest, which had just straightened up a little, unconsciously hunched down again. By the ear, listening to the wanton laughter of the Botanical College instructors, to make them feel depressed. It's even more depressing. On stage, Fatty Bear walked down dejectedly. A face full of disappointment. He returned to his seat, propped his head up with his hands, and said nothing. Just do your best. Qin Tian spoke out to comfort him. Fatty Bear raised his head. With lips licked, unwilling to say, Brother Qin, I thought I could win, but I was just a little bit away, just a little bit away. Take it easy, it's no big deal. Qin Tian persuaded. Indeed. Fatty Bear never took Dabby seriously. As he said, just have a fight for the sake of showing your appreciation. The righteousness before going on stage was just a playful thought. But under the spotlight, can win, who wants to lose? Especially when you meet an equally matched opponent, it gave him hope of winning. If you win, not only about yourself, it also represents the honor of the entire Zerg Academy. It's okay, if I lose, I lose. Nothing, this is just the first game. The Zerg Academy players around didn't complain. They all spoke to comfort him. It can be seen that Fatty Bear really tried his best. With only 7 generations of evolution, fighting against an ancient race comparable to the 8th generation of Zerg. The fight ended in a loss for both sides. Almost annihilated the opponent and ended up in a draw. It is so difficult that it can be called a miracle. Besides, even if we all lose, so what? We still have Brother Qin. That's right. When Brother Qin comes on stage, he will definitely be able to avenge his previous defeat. With the voice, everyone looked towards Qin Tian. Facing the expectant gazes, Qin Tian could only nod in cooperation. Opening his mouth, everyone, don't worry, I'm here. Chapter 60. The 10th match of the first round of the group stage. The third group. Xinghu from the Savage Beast Academy vs Zhang Yuannian from the Zerg Academy. Storm Tiger Eagle Tribe vs Ghost-Faced Mantis Tribe. Barbarian Beast Academy Xinghu, victory. The 38th match of the first round of the group stage. Group 2. Yu Liang from the Zerg Academy vs Luo Zhengqiang from the Botanical Academy. The Flame Scarab Tribe vs the Disaster Treeman Tribe. Luo Zhengqiang from the Botanical College wins. The battle lasted for several hours. I don't know if the Zerg Academy has bad luck. The crow's mouth was right. The subsequent confrontation, the Zerg Academy players suffered defeat after defeat. Don't talk about struggling. Even someone as evenly matched as Fatty Bear couldn't do it. They were basically pushed down by the opponents. The 8 generations who have the best chance of advancing to the second round, without exception, all of them were defeated. Zhang Yuannian was even more unlucky as he met one of the 2 6th generations of the Savage Beast Academy. The 6th generation of barbarians is equivalent to the 10th generation of Zerg in terms of combat power. More than twice the gap, the battle situation at that time could no longer be described as a crushing defeat. It was a complete and utter massacre. The 45th match of the first round of the group stage. Zerg Academy lost. Wang Hexa from Savage Beast Academy, victory. As the host announced the result of the final battle. This immediately made the people in the Botanical College laugh again. As expected, the Zerg Academy lost again. Haha, 30 losses in a row. Not a single one advanced. It's so ridiculous. There's not even one person who can fight. In previous years' competitions, they were able to advance several people in the first round. So, this Zerg Academy is getting worse every year. Facing the ridicule of the Botanical College, the Zerg Academy has long since stopped the tit-for-tat attitude it had at the beginning. Each one is like an eggplant hit by frost. He lowered his head dejectedly. He was so ashamed and angry that he wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Since the century-long competition, the team was wiped out in the first round, unprecedentedly. It happened to their generation. It is such a shame. Qin Tian frowned and looked at the Botanical College that was cheering nearby. Every time the Zerg Academy was defeated, that group of people would laugh at him. The words became more and more unpleasant. It would be understandable if the opponent was their Botanical College. But they were defeated by the Savage Beast Academy. They also enjoy it very much. It seemed that as long as the Zerg Academy was defeated, it would inexplicably hit their excitement point. No matter how good-tempered a person is, I can't stand this repeated ridicule. Start the second round of group matches. The host spoke loudly holding the microphone. The group stage was eliminated in the first round. All the ordinary players of the Zerg Academy were destroyed. Each group advances. Most of them are from the Savage Beast Academy. Like the third group where Qin Tian is, among the 15 people who advanced to the second round, there are 9 Savage Beast colleges. The remaining 6 people are from the College of Botany. In the picture. Plus the seeded players in each group, a total of 48 names began to randomly jump and match. First match of the second group round. The first group. Mengwu from Savage Beast Academy vs Peng Xinya from Botanical Academy. The Thunder Beast Tribe vs the Violent Treeman Tribe. Mengwu from Savage Beast Academy, victory. The 8th match of the second round of the group stage. The third group. Qin Tian from Zerg Academy vs Zhou Peng from Savage Beast Academy. Boarding Zerg vs Night Leopard Tribe. Finally. In Qin Tian's impatience. My name appeared on the screen. What a pity. Qin Tian glanced at the group of people from the Botanical College with some regret. What he wants to fight the most now is, these are the people. He stood up and walked towards the platform with a tall and strong male student from the Savage Beast Academy. Enter the battle room. After they sat down, Zhou Peng glanced at Qin Tian from the opposite side. He asked, "Are you the seed player of the Zerg Academy?" It's me, what's wrong? Although you marked it as only the 6th generation, since you can be a seeded player, it should be stronger than those 8th generations in your academy. Still has some brains. Qin Tian commented in his heart. But Zhou Peng grinned, if you had met those rubbish from the Botanical College, you might have been able to advance to the 3rd round, but you're unlucky to have met me. Oh? You're strong? Qin Tian asked with a smile. Not strong, but dealing with you is as easy as killing a chicken or a dog. Zhou Peng said confidently. Haha, sorry, I take back what I just said about you. What's your comment? Brainless idiot. You. Qin Tian didn't waste any more time with him. Put your hand inside the instrument. Sink into consciousness. In the restricted area of Mars, batches of war bugs have assembled and are on standby. According to the type, gather together in batches. In addition to the 3 strongest dragon tribes, there are also 2nd generation killer war bugs and 3rd generation destroyer war bugs. However, these 2 generations of war bugs, there have been very obvious changes. Like the Slayer warbug, the body is not as slender as before. It is already infinitely moving towards the form of a savage beast. Whether it is the limbs used for movement or the 4 limbs that look like sickles, they all became extremely strong and powerful. There is also a protruding mouth full of fangs. Everything, both are very suitable for close combat. This is Qin Tian's order to the Queen Mother. With the wild beast gene as the main body, with a certain amount of dragon genes as a supplement, an evolved and upgraded version of the killer war bug. Built for big competition. The average combat strength is 50,000. In the past half-month, a full 15 years on the planet. He stayed in Mars day and night, it's impossible that it's just for the purpose of tinkering with the devouring dragon and the blue dragon. Enter. Under Qin Tian's orders, among them, 8,000 upgraded killer war bugs began to flock to the open space channel. The opponents in the early stage are not strong. For example, the current 5th generation Shadow Leopard clan only has a combat power of 20,000 to 30,000. Mobilize the 3 major dragon species. It's a complete waste. Besides, there are 10,000 Zergs participating in the battle. He reserved 2,000 of them. If anything unexpected happens, there's still time to let the whiptail dragon make up for it. You damned Zerg Academy idiot, how dare you call me brainless? Damn it, wait and see how I wipe out your race. No. Wouldn't it be too easy for him to simply massacre him? I'm going to play with you slowly and watch your desperate face slowly. Above the battlefield. Zhou Peng stared at the space passage opposite with a gloomy expression. Secretly made up his mind. However, soon, he was stunned. Staring at the tall and ferocious creatures pouring out of the passage. Wasn't it agreed to be the Zerg? What the hell is this? Savage beast? Chapter 61. What is that? Brother Qin's newly evolved tribe. Why not a dragon? Yes, why didn't Brother Qin's dragon creatures appear on the field? Maybe Brother Qin feels that a race of wild beasts is not worthy of the dragon race appearing on the scene. The scene on the battlefield. It lifted the spirits of the depressed Zerg Academy players a little. Beside, just now, after the battle, the Zerg students can leave the Botanical Academy early. Smiles froze on everyone's face. 2nd floor. The instructor of the Botanical College stopped joking. Staring at the screen in astonishment. Zhao Meng quickly came to Dean Ma. He frowned and asked, Lao Ma, is your seated player really a Zerg? Yes, right. Faced with this question that I was very confused about at the beginning, Dean Ma also gave an uncertain answer. If it is an internal competition, Qin Tian's dragons also have some Zerg characteristics. But now the creatures in this picture have almost lost their insect appearance. Just like a group of wild beasts. In the private room on the top floor. Lin Tianyang, dressed in white, turned his eyes away from the chessboard in front of him. Looking at the light curtain in front of the French window, laughing, interesting, interesting. A Zerg civilization has actually evolved the characteristics of a wild beast. Who is this person? Sir, you are joking. Don't you really know who this person is? Oh. Lin Tianyang looked at the stunningly beautiful woman who was playing chess with him. Asked, why do you say that, Miss Duan? Everyone else thinks that you came to Linen City for Tinger, but Tinger knows herself well. With Tinger's looks, there's no way she would be worthy of your attention. What else? Lin Tianyang curled up the corner of his mouth into a playful smile. It's just like this game of chess. Duan Yuding dropped a piece. Smiling, just now, you made your moves randomly, without any rules. Your eyes were on the chessboard, but your heart was outside it. In another box on the top floor. On the first seat. An old man with white hair and beard holds a cup of fragrant tea. Looking at the light screen outside, surprised, did I hear it wrong? This Qin Tian seems to be a Zerg, but how come they are a group of wild beasts? Did I get it wrong? Old Shangsha doesn't know. Another old man sitting at the first seat smiled and replied, the path of evolution is ever-changing and unpredictable. When evolving to a certain level, it is inevitable that some unusual characteristics will appear. Master Yu is right. Biological civilizations evolve by devouring their own kind. Each generation of evolution will be very different from the original body. The Zhang family head who was sitting at the bottom, Zhang Wenshan, who was also the defender of Linen City, quickly echoed him. Yes, that group of Zerg look like wild beasts, but they actually have many Zerg characteristics. Yes, like the 6 limbs and the black carapace. And when entering the battlefield system will detect the race information to determine whether it belongs to the main ethnic group, so there will be no confusion. The other family heads below also spoke up. Put on a smile. The battlefield is on screen. Qin Tian didn't give his opponent much time to be surprised. At his will, 8,000 killer war bugs immediately rushed forward. Opposite. Zhou Peng suppressed his fear. He ordered the 2,000 shadow leopards below to go forward. The battle between the wild beast races, there are no fancy techniques or messy abilities. Only by fighting head-on, the shadow leopard's entire body has a streamlined and silky structure. Not to mention being strong, at least it is much thinner than the upgraded killer warbug. And the body is only 3 meters, less than half of the warbugs. But the advantage is that it is fast enough. The shadow leopard is an agile beast. The movements are so swift that they come and go without a trace. If it is one-on-one, even if the combat power is much higher, it is unrealistic for the killer warbug to kill the opponent in a short period of time. But when the group is in large scale and there is no room to dodge or jump, the Shadow Panther's advantage has undoubtedly dropped to a freezing point. From God's perspective in the sky. Like a pack of hungry wolves rushing into a sheep den, a huge black wave below instantly submerged a group of swift grey shadows. Facing the first wave of Shadow Panthers in the front row. The killer warbug doesn't even have any other moves. The powerful force brought by his sturdy body alone was enough to knock it away. The second wave also merely swung their sickle-like forelimbs. The third wave pounced forward and began to bite with its mouth full of fangs. Under the attack of groups of killer war insects, like wheat being harvested, shadow leopards fell in large numbers. The hard skull was cracked. The thin body was torn into pieces. For a time, blood was flowing and body parts were scattered all over the ground. Bloody and cruel scene, it's like the Azura hell and it's unbearable to look at. The balance of victory. No, in Qin Tian's eyes, in fact, there is no possibility of any failure in this battle. It would be fine if the individual combat power was nearly twice that of the opponent, the number is 4 times more than that of the other side. 4 against 1. A naked beating. Looking at the miserable battlefield with blood and flesh flying everywhere, he glanced at Zhou Peng, who was so shocked that his face turned pale and he looked like a puppet. Qin Tian pursed his lips. I suddenly felt embarrassed. Is this too bullying? Chapter 62. Ha ha ha, wonderful. Good. It's exciting. Compared with the previous dozens of matches, the response to this battle was extremely intense. As ordinary people watching the battle, they don't care who wins or loses. Nor do they care why a Zerg would have animal characteristics. It is this kind of passionate scene with bloodshed and fierce fighting. The previous battle between the 3 major races, at most, they would bite the throat and pierce the body, leaving pools of blood. It's not as exciting and satisfying as it is now, being almost torn into pieces. Killer warbugs, every time I swing at the Shadow Panther's sharp sickle forelimbs, the blood splattered and the limbs flew everywhere. The huge venue would erupt into a series of cheers and applause. Zerg Academy Qin Tian, victory. As the last shadow leopard fell in a sea of blood and corpses, the host announced the result of the battle. This is also the name of the Zerg Academy player who defeated. It echoed in the venue for the first time. For the other 2 colleges, maybe nothing. But for the Zerg Academy, it is of great significance. At least, it can let the dean and instructor in the box and the Zerg Academy contestants in the field, lift your chest slightly. Humph, the seeded players of the Zerg Academy are just so-so. The combat power is at most 40,000 to 50,000, which is far behind our seeded players. If we really encounter this, it will be an absolute one-sided massacre. You overestimate him. With his fighting power, there is no need for our seeded players to fight. I can easily defeat him. Just step down. Qin Tian heard the disdain coming from a group of people from the botanical college nearby. Seeing the ferocity displayed by the killer warbug, of course they can't be as arrogant as before. But there was inevitably a hint of sarcasm in his words. I'm looking forward to facing you. Qin Tian looked at the person who had just spoken. He wasn't being provocative. But I really want to slap these people in the face. An hour later. The second round of competitions is over. Still can't meet him. Qin Tian looked at the list of qualifiers on the screen with disappointment. Those who advanced from the third group. Except him, there are 4 beast players and 3 plant players. This lineup, I met someone from the botanical college. It's not hopeless. But the chances are really low. The big match seems to be randomly matched. In fact, there is an inherent fairness mechanism. First, players from the same academy, generally you won't encounter it. Unless like in the first round of the group stage, each group has 10 players from the 3 major academies. Unequal distribution, internal strife will then occur. Secondly, when one of the colleges has more players than the other 2, basically, the burden will be shared by the party with more people. Really? After a few matches in the third round, the opponent Qin Tian encountered was someone from the Savage Beast Academy. Damn it! How did they match? A group of people from the Zerg Academy around them shouted angrily. During this period, they had endured too much ridicule from the Botanical Academy. Qin Tian can also go on the field and fight to vent his emotions. They can only hold their resentment and anger in their hearts. If there wasn't a glimmer of hope in my heart. They left the scene in anger long before their time. Or just ignore the consequences and have a fight with the people from the Botanical College to vent your anger. This battle. Qin Tian continued to choose the upgraded version of the killer warbug. The opponent's race is a group of colorful pythons. The combat power is not high. Roughly equivalent to the previous Shadow Panther. Its most powerful means of attack is the deadly poison it spews out. In the Zerg civilization, what is most lacking is various kinds of poisonous insects. It is unknown how many poisonous genes the warbugs have fused together. Basically immune to the opponent's poison attack, there were no setbacks during this period. He easily defeated his opponent and slaughtered all 2,000 giant pythons. Another half-hour passed. Qin Tian and the people from the Zerg Academy around him, and the dean and instructors upstairs were waiting anxiously. The fourth round of the competition group stage has finally arrived. It is also the last round of the finals. What made them even more excited was that the contestants who advanced to the third group this time include 2 plant contestants and 1 beast contestant. This means that the last battle, Qin Tian is bound to run into someone from the Botanical College. The fourth round of group battles begins. The third group. Qin Tian from the Zerg Academy vs Yan Fei from the Botanical Academy. Parasitic Zerg vs Ironwood Treeman. Brother Qin. Fatty Bear raised his head, which had been lowered all the time. Turning to Qin Tian, he opened his trembling lips. What do you want to say? But he seemed unable to speak. Rest assured. I'll teach them a lesson. Qin Tian reached out and patted the fat man's shoulder heavily. He understood what Fatty Bear meant. You can also empathize with the other person's feelings. Fatty Bear was the first person to be defeated by the Botanical College. He was also the first person to be laughed at. Originally, with this guy's hot temper, how could I possibly endure this kind of humiliation? In the past, they started shouting at the top of their lungs just like they did in an internal match. But since the defeat, the fat guy might have really suffered a big blow. Depression, lonely and depressed, facing the constant stream of evil words ringing in my ears, he kept his head down and sat in his seat silently without saying a word. As you can imagine, to what extent is the fat man's heart suppressed? Qin Tian stood up. Looking at the group of Zerg Academy classmates sitting around. At this time, no one spoke. But everyone's eyes were filled with strong longing and expectation. As if transformed into streams of scorching flames, it fell on Qin Tian. Qin Tian nodded to everyone. Again no words. Everything, it's all said and done. Just about to go on stage, Qin Tian accidentally discovered that the people who stood up at the Botanical College, it turned out to be the person who had threatened to beat him down before. The other party also seemed a little surprised. But soon he smiled and said, "I'm lucky to have met you, Qin Tian, right? Haha, you will be the first seeded player to be kicked out of the group stage." "Okay, I'll wait." Qin Tian didn't say any more nonsense. "Go straight up to the platform. There's no suspense in this battle. Of course, Yan Feiyu is the strongest person besides our seeded players. This kid's race is almost approaching the ancient level of 10,000 years. It's still 100 or 200 years away. If the competition is delayed a few months, our botanical college will have 2 ancient level students. What a pity." "It's not a pity. With a combat power of nearly 100,000, it won't affect our qualification for the group stage. It's really unlucky for the Zerg Academy to run into Yan Feiyu. Indeed, not to mention the difference in combat power, there is no solution just in terms of restraint. Yes, Yan Feiyu's Ironwood Treeman has amazing defense, and is exactly the nemesis of their seeded player. We have secured this qualifying spot. Ha ha ha, including our second group's seeded players, our academy will definitely have 2 of the 6 qualifying spots for the group stage. In the box on the second floor." Compared to the relaxed and exciting atmosphere of the instructors at the Botanical College, the instructor of the Zerg Academy on the other side, my breathing almost stopped. Especially when hearing each other's conversation, it made them extremely nervous. Dinma hesitated for a moment. He came to Su Jian and asked, "Old Su, how strong are student Qin's dragon creatures?" "This." Su Jian licked his dry lips. In fact, he doesn't know either. Before the big competition, he went to Qin Tian several times to find out more details. But every time the other party is busy on the planet, he didn't bother. "Can this battle be won?" Dinma couldn't help but ask again. "It's 50-50. Su Jian smiled bitterly. "Only the most conservative estimates can be made." Hearing this, Dinma sighed helplessly. The other instructors couldn't help but shake their heads bitterly. No one knows better than them the significance of qualifying in the last match of this group. This is no longer a question of losing face, but it really involves everyone's own interests. Group qualifying places, it means the position of the supervisory commissioner in the future. Victory, all instructors, including President Ma, who is about to step down, because he taught a great general, the value of the boat will rise. Raising monthly salary is one of them. Most importantly, everyone may be able to find a better job than the instructor. After all, with the authority of the governor, transferred several district instructors, without even opening his mouth, naturally, there will be countless people who want to curry favor with you and make all the arrangements. Defeat, the entire Zerg Academy fell into complete decline. The instructor's serving, best results, it means continuing to teach in the college throughout his life without doing anything. Chapter 63. On the battlefield. Qin Tian floats in the air. The black swarm of killer war bugs below has gathered. In the opposite space channel, one after another, the Ironwood Tree people were pouring out quickly. These tree people are 10 meters tall. There was no sluggishness or stiffness in his movements. The facial features are extremely clear and distinct. In the deep eye sockets, there were 2 balls of faint green light flashing, swaying continuously like hellfire. The entire body is not like the rough structure of vines and branches like that of ordinary tree people. Instead, it is wrapped in a complete and thick bark. It's like wearing a layer of heavy armor. The most striking thing is that in their left hands grow a heavy shield that is more than 5 meters high. His right hand turned into a cold sword several meters long with a slight curve. Although they are all wooden structures growing out of the body, but when you see it gleaming like metal in the sun, hardness and sharpness, you can imagine. And, after coming out of the passage, the Shamusha people immediately lined up in strict and orderly queues. Between each other, even more vines extend out and entangle with each other. Oh! Qin Tian smiled and glanced at the group of Ironwood Tree people who were forming a formation. He raised his head and looked at Yan Feiyu, who was standing opposite him with a proud attitude. I have to say, people are arrogant. He does have the capital to be arrogant. The previous opponent of Fatty Bear, if compared to a group of mediocre gorillas. So, what he is facing now is it's like a well-trained, regular armored legion. Both, almost worlds apart. I'm really worried that you can't handle it. That's perfect. Qin Tian vented his will and gave orders. The killer war bugs below immediately pounced forward with a hiss. Ding ding ding. A dull impact, it instantly resounded across the battlefield. The physique of the Ironwood Tree Man determines their power. In front of him stood a series of tightly fitting shields. As motionless as a huge rock of steel, easily blocked the charges of the killer war bugs. Swish! The next moment, all the Ironwood Treemen were in unison. Move the shield away. The long sword in his right hand chopped out. Fortunately, the defensive power of the shell evolved by the killer warbug is not much inferior. The long knife fell heavily on it, leaving only cracks. He was not killed with one blow. But the pain in my body, it completely aroused the ferocity of the warbugs. They all let out loud cries. He swung his two sickle limbs and slashed at the shield in front of him continuously. Then came the warbugs. Because of the limited space, I can't reach the enemy. Immediately dispersed to both sides. Soon, the entire Ironwood Treeman formation, it was surrounded by circles of killer war bugs. This iron barrel formation might be very effective against those wild beasts. Can't bite the outer shell of the turtle. They can only be eaten away bit by the other party. It is even possible to end the battle without losing a single soldier. But for a group of fearless warriors, it's just a joke. Equivalent to nothing. In the crowded the killer war bugs quickly piled up one after another. Soon he climbed up. He rushed into the tree man formation ferociously, stepping on the bodies of his own kind. The number is increasing. The sounds of chopping became more and more frequent. Wood chips began to fly. The juice began to spurt. The Ironwood Tree Man roared in a low voice. Mixed with the sharp screams of the killer war insects, it began to ripple back and forth on this chaotic battlefield. The sky. Yan Feiyu stared at the situation on the battlefield. When the swarm of war insects swarmed into the tree people's formation, his brows tightened noticeably. But gradually it relaxed again. Lift your head. He looked at Qin Tian, who had a calm expression on his face. Send out a consciousness, you don't seem to care about the war at all. From beginning to end, Qin Tian ignored the fighting below. Even compared to the Ironwood Tree people, at this time, the casualties of the war bugs are much greater. Didn't even take a look. His gaze, it seems to be falling on me all the time. Victory or defeat has already been determined, why bother about the already predetermined outcome? Qin Tian said. Humph, you have some self-awareness, but I have to admit that your race is indeed quite strong. It's okay. Are you still pushing it too far? I mean a little bit, understand. Yan Feiyu raised his eyebrows. You are right. Haha, I didn't suffer any losses in the previous battles, but this time I lost some of my tribe. You should be proud of yourself. Okay, I'll go brag about it after this is over. Yan Feiyu didn't expect that the other party would become so obedient and sensible. So much so that he couldn't continue with the many teasing remarks he had prepared. Suddenly I felt bored. He simply said, forget it, it's boring, just surrender. I don't want to surrender. Why? Are you still dreaming that a miracle will happen? Yan Feiyu pointed to the battlefield below with amusement. The situation is very clear now. More than half of your insects have died, and I still have nearly 5,000 tree people. What's the point of fighting further? It would be too humiliating to surrender. Face? Being defeated by me is already a huge honor for you. Yan Feiyu snorted disdainfully. But I don't want to continue wasting my breath on it. Half an hour later. Finally, with Yan Feiyu's face full of impatience, all the insects in the field died. You win. Nonsense. Yan Feiyu glanced at Qin Tian, who spoke across from him with disdain. It seems that he is too lazy to talk to this defeated opponent. Then why don't you leave consciousness? Why don't you leave? Qin Tian slowly floated over. Coming to Yan Feiyu, look into each other's eyes. The corners of his mouth slightly raised in an arc road. You. What are you waiting for? Chapter 64. What are you waiting for? Isn't it all over? What does the host do for a living? Outside the venue. Seeing the battlefield scene where the winner has been decided, I also saw that the host was slow to announce the results. Some people couldn't help but make noise. Among them, the people from the College of Botany shouted the loudest. They obviously won. Why haven't they been declared the winner yet? In the box on the second floor. The instructors at the Botanical College were also a little confused. There is only the instructor of the Zerg Academy next to him. including the Zerg Academy contestants off the field. At this moment, they all looked thoughtful. Everyone. Seeing the noise getting louder and louder, the host on stage had to pick up the microphone and explain loudly, "This battle has not yet been decided. According to the rules of the competition, 2,000 creatures from the Savage Beast Academy are participating in the competition. The Botanical College is 6,000. And the highest number in the Zerg Academy is 10,000. This is the seed player from the Zerg Academy. There are only 5,000 people participating in the war. So. The number of bugs you're fighting isn't 10,000. Over the battlefield, Yan Feiyu's expression suddenly changed. What he was just waiting for was the system's judgment. During the battle, a battlefield system designed specifically for big competitions. In addition to detecting the race information of both parties involved in the war, a winning or losing notification will also be sent after the game ends. Equivalent to a referee on the battlefield. But he never got the hint. Seeing the smile on Qin Tian's face again, then he looked at the pile of dead insects below him. Yan Feiyu finally understood the problem. Before he entered, the other side has already set up their formation. A dark swarm of insects. He had no time to carefully check the number of the other side. Besides, thousands and tens of thousands, the difference is not that big. Not to mention inside the venue, those viewers who are staring at the screen outside, it is impossible to tell them apart with the naked eye. Only the battlefield system can do a detailed inventory. Then it is displayed on the instrument screen outside which only the host can see. Yan Feiyu's face darkened. Staring at Qin Tian who was so close, angry, "Are you kidding me?" Qin Tian smiled but said nothing. "Humph, so what if you hold back on your strength? I still have 4,000 tree men, which is more than enough to defeat you. Indeed, with 5,000 war bugs, I thought we could wipe out at least half of your tribe." Qin Tian restrained his smile and sighed helplessly. 5,000? Yan Feiyu breathed a sigh of relief. The sense of urgency that had just arisen in my heart immediately dissipated. He chuckled and said, "Why, you still hold out hope of winning? Who wants to lose when they can win? Oh, you are worthy? Okay, I don't want to waste my time talking to you. Just get rid of the remaining bugs and end it soon." "Good." The voice fell, from the Mars channel. One by one, the destroyer war bugs slowly spread their wings and flew out. It is also an upgraded version that has evolved by integrating certain genetic components of the frost dragon. But no other wild beast genes were integrated into it. Therefore, it only increases the strength of the body and the hardness of bone spurs. The original external structure and attack methods have not changed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Thousands of annihilator war bugs have just gathered. A wave of enhanced bone spurs poured down like an overwhelming force. "Meet the enemy. Raise your shield. You idiots. Raise your shields. Quick." Yan Feiyu didn't have time to be shocked by the exaggerated size of the other group of creatures. In panic, he quickly spread his will and commands. Obviously, he did not normally train his races to defend against attacks from the air. Therefore, the reaction of the group of Ironwood Tree people was a little slow. Almost half of them were exposed to the rain of bone spurs. Bang bang bang. For a while, the sound of explosion suddenly occurred. Some bone spurs hit the tree man's chest which was wrapped in iron and broke into pieces. Some of the shots hit the tree man's head, where its defense was weak, and knocked it down. A few extremely lucky ones pierced the tree man's eye sockets directly. A wave of attacks, more than half of the Shamusha people were killed or injured. Before the remaining survivors could regroup, one by one, the annihilator war bugs followed the bone spike closely and spun down. "It's over." Yan Feiyu looked at the body parts scattered on the ground below in disbelief. The battle came suddenly. The ending was also unexpected. Coming soon, he had just given the order to raise the shields, then you see those huge creatures swooping down in suicidal attacks. "Hee hee, ha ha ha." After a long pause, seeing that there were nearly 1,000 tree people left on the battlefield, Yan Feiyu laughed. The laughter grew louder and more crazy. While laughing, while pointing at Qin Tian in front of him, "Haha, Mr. Qin, what does it matter if you have a backup plan? You will still be defeated by me. In the face of strength, no matter how many there are, they are always a joke. Bugs are bugs. Even if it evolves to a larger size, what does it matter? It's just a pile of garbage. If it wasn't for the fact that I was caught off guard, my tree man wouldn't have had time to raise his shield. With all that garbage of yours. As they were talking, Yan Feiyu finally realized something. The voice unconsciously weakened. His face became increasingly gloomy. Staring at Qin Tian, who still had a smile on his face, gnashing his teeth, he almost squeezed out a few words, "You have less than 10,000 creatures participating in the battle." Hee. Qin Tian smiled. "No more pretending. That's enough. You know. I'm enjoying the look on your face right now. It seems to allow me to appreciate it more clearly." Qin Tian moved a little closer. It was less than a finger's distance away from Yan Feiyu's angry and almost distorted face. "You laugh at me again and again, you keep making these sarcasms over and over again without getting tired. There was no regard for our feelings at all, they totally ignored the grievances in our hearts. Do you really think that there is no one in our Zerg Academy? Do you really think we are easy to bully? As the one who dances the most among you. You think, would I be willing to be crushed by a simple wave like before? Wouldn't that be too cheap for you? Giving you hope again and again. You are pushed to the bottom again and again. At last, I will destroy all your thoughts, let you fall into the abyss completely, let you feel the piercing cold despair, roar." After that, the roar of dragons shook the sky. Piercing the sky. Chapter 65. In the top box. The chess game between Lin Tianyang and Duan Yuding has come to a halt. The two came to the French window. Staring at the screen with serious eyes, the annihilator war bugs appeared one after another with a ferocious aura. Then, a dragon roar sounded. Seeing groups of giant dragons pouring out from the space channel, the two were startled. Eyes flickering constantly, his complexion kept changing. At the same time, other top-floor boxes, and in the countless private rooms on the lower floor. From the royal city's special envoy to the old minister of rights, from the heads of all the big and small families, they also gathered in front of the window. His eyes were fixed on the giant dragons on the screen. After a moment of surprise, there was a complex and cautious look on everyone's face. Some disturbances, some secrets, ordinary people may have forgotten it long ago. But as a local dignitary, how dare they not take it to heart? How dare we take it lightly? Even, many people came here just for this matter. The huge venue, it was dead silent. Everyone stared at the giant dragon in the light curtain in horror. Different from those homeowners upstairs who have their own thoughts. They were just shocked. This year's big game, the vast majority of people come here for the two major Warcraft civilizations. Especially the Dragon Clan among them. Everyone wants to catch a glimpse of the legendary Dragon Clan. But I didn't expect that only the group stage, a dragon-like creature suddenly appeared. Wow! After a brief silence, excited cheers, the surging cry, the entire venue was instantly in a frenzy. On the battlefield, Yan Feiyu was completely frightened. The whole person stared at the group of giant dragons in horror like a sculpture. I even forgot to breathe and think. At the same time, he also forgot to command his races to fight. In fact, there is no need to struggle at all. If you say, the 10-meter-tall ironwood tree man was like a child in front of those animal war bugs. So, at this moment, under these giant dragons that are hundreds of meters tall, just like a group of tiny ants. The huge body rushed down and covered, 3 sharp whip tails like steel cables and chains pierce and tear. The strong defense that the ironwood tree people are proud of, as fragile as a piece of rotten paper. The whole body, with their broad shields, like door panels, they were all strangled in an instant and turned into flying wood chips. On the high platform outside, the host who receives the system notification of winning or losing, he looked with horror at the ferocious dragons roaring in the light curtain. Pick up the microphone, he opened his mouth tremblingly and announced loudly, Zerg Academy, Qin Tian, win. In the rear battle room, Qin Tian exits consciousness, he glanced at Yan Feiyu, who was sitting opposite him with a dull look on his face. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He stood up and walked straight down the platform. Come to the sidelines. Wherever Qin Tian's eyes swept, a group of people from the Botanical College finally put away their arrogant faces. They all lowered their heads deeply. Even that beautiful female student from the ancient class, under the remaining power of the dragon, I also subconsciously looked away and didn't dare to look at him. Ha ha ha, Brother Qin is so awesome. With Brother Qin here, it doesn't matter if we are all wiped out and defeated. There is only Brother Qin, that's enough. The Zerg Academy players laughed heartily. Dean Ma and the instructors in the upstairs box, the haze on his face was swept away. No matter how frustrated you are, no matter how angry you are, no matter how urgent it is, all of it was released at this moment. All that is left is the satisfying and heartfelt comfort and excitement. The noisy venue, things gradually calmed down as the next battle began. 10 minutes later, a total of 6 battles among the 3 groups in the 4th round ended. The representative group battle came to an end. The 6 players who qualified were, except for the dark horse Qin Tian in the 3rd group. The other 2 group-seeded players advanced as expected. The remaining 3 ordinary contestants who advanced are all from the Savage Beast Academy. 2 of them are of the 6th generation. The other is 5 generations. It's a pity for Yan Feiyu. Yet, he should have had a good chance of qualifying. With his Ironwood Treeman, he can easily defeat at least the 5th generation players in the first group. I can only say that he was unlucky to have run into a dragon creature. There was a lot of discussion in the field. Most people felt sorry for Yan Feiyu. After Yan Feiyu stepped down, his condition is much more depressed than that of Fatty Bear back then. He sat there in a daze, as if he had lost his soul. Qin Tian turned his head and took a look. To be honest, put aside personal disputes, to be fair, it's him. Or someone from the Zerg Academy, I felt the same way. The strength of the Ironwood Tree Man is obvious to all. Those trained by Yan Feiyu are comparable to a regular heavy armored corps. In any group, they can easily get a qualifying spot. Even if they face the other 2 seeded players, they are not without the ability to fight. But he happened to encounter an opponent that was impossible to defeat. Lost the qualification. It also ruined my bright future. He missed the opportunity to take the position of Governor General, which held tremendous power. Before taking the stage and on the battlefield, Yan Feiyu kept laughing at Qin Tian's bad luck. Little did they know, the one who was truly unlucky was himself. The second phase of the battle for supremacy begins. Following the host's voice, the venue returned to silence. Because there are fewer people, and for the sake of fairness, the first round of the competition will feature a cross-challenge. The seeded players from each group will challenge the ordinary players from the next group in turn. 3 winners advance. In the second round, 1 person will be chosen from the 3. In the third round, the final winner will challenge the Fire Phoenix clan of the Warcraft civilization. The rules are simple and clear. It also ensures the greatest possible fairness. This can prevent the strongest seeded players from encountering it early and being eliminated. Only, the battle has not yet begun. The 3 ordinary contestants in the audience all stood up and announced their surrender. But, this is understandable. The 3 of them are from the Savage Beast Academy. I had challenged my own seeded players during the internal competition. The seed players of the Botanical College, their ancient race has a combat power of over 150,000. Almost twice as many as them. 3 times their number again. There is no need to fight at all. As for the Zerg Academy, the Dragon Clan. Are you going to go on stage and humiliate yourself? The first round was skipped peacefully. It was not possible to clearly judge the strength of the 3 seeded players in the second round. So it is still a random match. After a while, matching is complete. First battle of the second round. Shi Tianhao from the Savage Beast Academy vs Qin Tian from the Zerg Academy. Red-scaled ape tribe vs parasitic Zerg tribe. Under the watchful eyes of the public, Qin Tian stood up and climbed onto the platform. Preparing to enter the battle room, after thinking about it, Qin Tian turned around and came to the host. "My lord, do you have any questions?" The host immediately bowed slightly and asked with a smile. "I want to ask, can the 2 games be combined into one? A merger?" The host didn't seem to understand. "But soon I'll realize it," exclaimed, "Your Excellency means that you want to challenge the other 2 at the same time." "Right. This is not something I can decide. Please wait a moment and let me ask for your instructions." The host's face trembled. "Immediately call a staff member from the audience." After giving a few instructions, then the staff member was seen running upstairs quickly. Not long after, the staff member returned and nodded to the host. "Everyone. Because the parties requested it. We have also received the approval of the special envoy, the minister, and the city lord. So, we made some temporary adjustments to the second round of the contest." The host holds the microphone. Speaking of which, he couldn't help but glance at Qin Tian's back as he walked towards the battle room. With a sigh, he continued loudly, 2 matches in the second round. The 2 will become 1. By Zerg Academy Qin Tian. Challenge Shi Tianhao from the Savage Beast Academy and Zhou Yangxia from the Botanical Academy at the same time. Chapter 66. Wow! The host finished speaking. It immediately caused a sensation in the audience. 1 against 2. Is he crazy? Did he underestimate his opponent? The red-scaled ape is famous for its iron bones and immense strength. There is also an ancient tree man, which is definitely not comparable to the previous ironwood tree man. You can't be so absolute. After all, they are still dragons. It's just that the Zerg shell is so obvious that it can't be a real dragon, nor is it a monster. Yes, in melee combat alone, those giant dragon creatures cannot defeat the 2 top races. There was an uproar downstairs. The people in the private rooms upstairs were also astonished. But soon many people reacted. This battle is too close to being won or lost. Don't forget, they are Zerg. What happened to the Zerg? According to the rules of the competition, the Savage Beast Academy can only send out 2,000 soldiers, and the Plant Academy can send out 6,000. And the Zerg Academy has a whopping 10,000. Hiss! 10,000 giant dragons! When I think of this, everyone's eyelids couldn't help but twitch. However, a look of excitement and anticipation immediately emerged among them. Ha ha ha, this battle will be worth watching. 2,000 red-scaled ape beasts, plus 6,000 ancient-level tree people, a total of 8,000. Fight against 10,000 Zerg dragons. It's really hard to predict the outcome. Compared to other people's expectations, I am more excited. All the people in the Zerg Academy looked uneasy. Especially Dean Ma and a group of instructors. They didn't understand why Qin Tian gave up the strategy of taking steady steps. 1-on-1, not to mention crushing, the hope of winning is still great. You can take the risk of 1-on-2. Even a slight advantage in numbers does not guarantee much chance of winning. But now that it's over, they could only pray silently. On the light screen, creatures from the 3 races began to swarm out of the space channel. In the upper right corner of the screen, the 3 sets of numbers began to jump and increase wildly. Ever since the misunderstanding caused by Qin Tian in the group battle, the host deliberately displayed the number of races participating in the war on each side. Everyone subconsciously stared at the jumping numbers. However, to everyone's surprise, not long after, a number representing the number of Qin Tian races, then it suddenly stopped. Stopped at 900. Only 900 dragons. 900 versus 8,000. The gap is too big. How do we fight this? For a moment, everyone froze collectively. The expressions of Dean Ma and a group of instructors, in an instant, it became dark and lost all its luster. On the battlefield, one after another, ferocious red-scaled apes roared and leaped out from the space channel. The general appearance, it's like a monkey magnified countless times. The palms are broad, put your feet on the ground. A mouth full of fangs, but unlike apes, strong and powerful, with a body as huge as a mountain top, dozens of meters high. It's not covered with hair, instead, it is layers of dense red iron armor scales. Not far away in the other side of the passage, one by one, the tree people were walking out quickly. Just like Yan Fei's ironwood treemen, these tree people are very clean overall. There are no extra branches on the body. The facial features are also clearer. Almost able to show rich expressions. The arms turned into 2 sharp blades. Like 2 daggers. He's not very big. It's only about 7 or 8 meters long. In front of the group of majestic dragons opposite or the giant apes next to them. They can all be described as extremely thin. But he is extremely agile. It seems that the later the plant species evolves, the more it appears, the more it will present characteristics that are opposite to the initial stiff body. Above the channel, Shi Tianhao and Zhou Yangxiu came together naturally. Regarding Qin Tian's arrogant proposal of fighting 2 people at once, neither of them felt the slightest bit of shame or anger. Instead, I secretly rejoiced. The powerful dragon clan, it is a taboo in the hearts of all creators of biological civilization. Even a dragon-like creature, in a one-on-one situation, no one has the confidence that they can win. I'll be in charge of the frontal attack later, and you find the right time to attack from the side. Shi Tianhao spoke. The red-scaled apes under his command are known for their strength and defense. Especially the defense. It is enough to rank in the top 10 in the entire biological civilization system. Compared with Yan Feiyu's ironwood tree man, like the difference between an egg and a stone. Good. Zhong Yangxiu nodded in agreement. Then he asked, the opponent's dragon can fly. Do you have any way to restrain it? My red-scaled ape is a terrestrial species. How can there be a way to restrain it? Your abyss treeman doesn't have any anti-aircraft means either. Yes, there is, but my race has evolved into an agile melee type, and my ranged attacks are relatively weak. Okay, it's okay, just wait for him to attack. The key is, are you sure you can hold off the red-scaled ape? Don't worry, as long as those dragons dare to come down, they will never be able to fly back, unless they can drag a creature weighing dozens of tons, but this is unrealistic. Anyway, you have to be quick and order those abyss tree people to attack their weaknesses, such as their eyes. As the races under their command have gathered, the two had to end their discussion on battle strategy early. Then they turned and looked towards the opposite side together. The next moment, the two of them were stunned again. So little? Looking from afar, the group of giant dragons flying in the sky was not large. Rare quantity, it can be distinguished with the naked eye. There are definitely not tens of thousands of them. Not even 1/10. The two looked at each other. Shi Tianhao sent a message to Qin Tian in confusion, are you sure you don't want to send more dragons into the battle? 1,000 dragons are enough. Oh. Shi Tianhao laughed. No further response. Turning to Zhong Yangxiu beside him, he said awkwardly, he really doesn't take us seriously. He wants to defeat us with just 1,000 giant dragons. Isn't it better to underestimate the enemy like this? Haha, indeed. I have never been confident in dealing with tens of thousands of dragons, but 1,000. It would be better if he sent them out in batches like this. Yes, send out a group and we'll eat up a group. If we fight 10 times, we'll win. Opposite. Qin Tian, who had just finished transmitting his consciousness, he lowered his head and looked at the group of giant dragons below him with some helplessness. He wasn't being pretentious. He also wanted to send more dragons to join the battle. But, who can blame me for having so little wealth? Half a month, a total of 800 adult whiptail dragons were hatched. Including the first batch of 100 heads. Altogether, there are actually less than 1,000 heads. But, just like he just said, that's enough. Roar. Under Qin Tian's will, the dragons roared in unison and flew out with their wings spread. The 100-meter-long body cast shadows on the ground. Roar. The group of giant apes below beat their chests and howled fiercely without showing any weakness. He stood up straight, tilted his head back and stared at the giant dragon that was rushing towards him. Their mission is not to kill. It's a restraint. Grab the dragon and drag it down, create a fatal opportunity for the abyss treeman beside you. Chapter 67. On the battlefield. The giant apes faced the giant dragons charging down. Ready to try. However, waiting for them, it is not the body of the dragon that pounces down, instead, it was a continuous stream of flaming dragon breath like boiling magma. In a flash, the whole earth turned into a sea of fire. The screams and howls of the giant ape pierced the sky. The mountain-like body collapsed and rolled back and forth. Countless abyss tree people directly turned into fireballs. There was a constant crackling sound of burning. Disperse! Disperse! Violent fluctuations of will arose from Shi Tianhao and Zhong Yangxiu. The two men's faces were extremely gloomy and terrifying. Who would have thought, the opponent's dragon, can it actually breathe dragon breath like a real dragon? Before the war, they mixed their races together. Under each giant ape, there were 2 or 3 abyss treemen gathered there. This was originally to cooperate with the hunt for the dragon. But under the sudden dragon's breath flames, they became each other's graveyard. The dense number, not only did it increase the damage, it also fueled the fire. Tree people were set on fire one by one. Like piles of burning dry wood, spreading wildly and raging everywhere. At the same time, he was also constantly roasting the giant ape around him. The defense of those red-scaled apes is really strong. Tens of thousands of degrees, how could it be impossible to burn through their scales in such a short period of time? Qin Tian stared at the tall figures in the sea of fire in amazement. Although it was a little beyond his expectations, however, the terrifying high temperature transmitted by the scales still made the giant ape howl in pain. It's like the skin is covered with densely packed red-hot irons. Some of the giant apes rolled on the ground, he even began to scratch his body frantically. It seemed as if it wanted to tear off the hot scales. A chaotic and miserable scene, it's really unbearable to watch. Tree state. Strangle. Zhong Yangxiu burst out with a strong will. Originally a beautiful and fair face, at this moment, so hideous that it was almost distorted. The abyss tree man escaped from the sea of fire, they immediately took root and grew into towering trees. Roots are coming out of the soil. Like a swift snake, a giant dragon sweeping into the air. But as she said before, ranged attacks are its weakness. The roots that reach up to the sky are as thin as ropes. It is almost impossible to trap a giant dragon. Even if entangled by some roots, the giant dragon can burn it to ashes with a breath of dragon breath just by turning its head. It's just a last-ditch effort. Qin Tian didn't pay attention to the tree-like tree people who had been targeted by the whip-tail dragon. The whole person seemed a little bored and uninterested. Propose a one-on-two fight. It's not that he's arrogant. It's not that he underestimated the enemy. The fact is just like this. A terrestrial species with no anti-aircraft means, a natural restraint is equivalent to the presence of an accelerant. One battle and two battles, what's the difference? Outsiders think that the whip-tail dragon is not a true warcraft dragon. They can only fight in close combat like wild beasts. Yes. They are right. But who says that those who are not warcraft species cannot release magic? At least, can release similar magic or similar dragon breath. The host that the parasite's original body first parasitizes. They are the group of fiery golden beetles that can spit flames. Afterwards, the habitat of a population of hatched adult whiptail dragons. They even snatched the lava river that only crabs can set foot on. In the blue sun star, the dozen or so gaps in the imperial city wall that disappeared and were completely vaporized, it is the masterpiece of the whiptail dragon's fiery breath. Otherwise, how could the killer war bugs easily climb up the towering city walls and break into the city? The earth is burning, the flames are raging. The thick black smoke almost obscured the entire battlefield. Vaguely, all you can see are giant dragons passing by from time to time. And waves of red flames swooping down. When the smoke clears, the whole earth seemed to be thoroughly washed. Where the eye is, no charred corpses. There were no trees emitting smoke. All living things and vegetation, under the continuous flames spewed out by the dragon. Everything turned into dust and drifted away with the wind. Huge venue, there was a long silence. Even if the battlefield scene on the light screen disappeared into black, everyone still stared at it instinctively. The host on the podium also became a sculpture. Until Qin Tian, who had been waiting for a long time, I couldn't help but go over and remind him, and then he came to his senses. The result of the battle was announced hastily. Under the host's words. The silent venue, finally, some sounds began to be restored. The young are to be feared, it really is, the young are to be feared. A tiny insect race has evolved to such a terrifying level. They are not dragons, but they are no different from real dragons. But that's where it stops. Yes, although the Fire Phoenix clan has not yet evolved to a new generation and its original combat power is only a few 100,000, it is strong in magical attacks. The most important thing is that they are naturally immune to fire damage. They are the natural enemies of those Zerg dragons. There's no need to fight anymore. He should just admit defeat. It's a pity for such a talented person. If it were in previous years, he would have won first place in the competition and easily won the championship title. The exciting fight as imagined did not happen. It is inevitable that people feel a little disappointed. But the one-sided slaughter, it made everyone feel awe and shock, and at the same time, they sighed a little. In the audience, all the students of the Botanical College were silent. He didn't even dare to look at the people from the Zerg Academy next to him. Before the war, they can still hold on to their hopes of winning. But I didn't expect that the ending is so horrible. The flames of those dragons, not only did it destroy everything on the battlefield, it also shattered the last bit of pride in their hearts. How happily they laughed at first, the slap in their faces at this moment is as loud as it gets. Facing the silent gazes of a group of Zerg students beside him, it almost made them feel very uncomfortable. Suffering so much, many people simply stood up and left in embarrassment. Congratulations, Lao Ma. With such a talent, your Zerg Academy will surely soar to great heights and become famous in the future. In the second floor box where I had been immersed for a long time, Zhao Meng's cheerful voice rang out. Haha, good luck, just good luck. Dinma responded reservedly. Then he glanced at the location of the botanical college on the other side. Feeling the eyes on me, Dean Wang could only force out an awkward smile. She pursed her lips and said, Dean Ma, congratulations. Hey, Lao Wang, when I heard you say that you could compete with the two major Warcraft civilizations, I thought it was true. The gap between you and me, tisk tisk. The same words, the same tone, it was sent back intact by Dean Ma. Hearing this, Dean Wang's face instantly turned purple. The other instructors from the Botanical College turned away in great shame and anger. A group of Zerg Academy instructors laughed out loud. Even Su Jian couldn't help but reveal a happy smile and genuine relief. He turned his head and looked at Qin Tian, who was coming on stage below. This final battle. Brother Qin will probably choose to surrender. Su Jian muttered to himself. But it doesn't matter. To be able to reach this point, such an impressive achievement. It has far exceeded his expectations. As everyone in the venue was secretly regretting, and in Su Jian's satisfied eyes, Qin Tian on stage. He actually walked straight into the battle room. Sidelines. As the finale of the battle for hegemony, Duan Yuding lifted her skirt lightly and walked onto the platform. After entering the battle room, she looked at Qin Tian, who had entered the room first. The pearly teeth gently opened, he smiled and said, Young Master Qin's race is truly eye-opening. I admire you. Miss, you are too kind. Compared with your Warcraft civilization, it is nothing. Qin Tian responded with laughter. I thought it was just a polite expression between the two sides before the war. Unexpectedly, Duan Yuding nodded directly and said, You are right, sir. There is indeed a huge gap between us. This caught Qin Tian off guard for a moment. Just like what Yan Feiyu said when he mocked him before, this is too much of an insult. It's just polite talk with everyone complimenting each other. You actually climbed up the pole, are you serious? Haha, sir, please don't misunderstand me. I didn't mean to belittle or tease you at all. Duan Yuding chuckled. Then asked, Sir, do you know anything about the Fire Phoenix clan? I know a thing or two. Then you should know that the Fire Phoenix clan is immune to all fire-attributed attacks. Your dragon cannot hurt me at all, so... So you want me to just give in? No, you misunderstood again, my lord. What I meant is... I surrender, and I will give up the title of Baron. Chapter 68. The screen remained black for a long time. The discussion among the audience became more and more intense. But soon, the battlefield scene suddenly flashed on the screen. The entire venue fell into a moment of stagnation. On the battlefield, Duan Yuding stood gracefully in mid-air. Hesitate a little, she still couldn't help but send a message to Qin Tian, Sir, are you really going to give up the title that is within your grasp and insist on fighting? Thank you for your kindness, miss. I don't like to owe favors to others. Please do your best, otherwise. The following words, Qin Tian didn't say anything else. The implication is, even if you deliberately let the water go, I wouldn't express this sentiment either. Although the other party did not clearly state why he gave up the title and gave it to him, but it is nothing more than an attempt to win over. Today you took this free title. Tomorrow I have to go to her Duan family, working hard for her Duan family. All along, Qin Tian is trying to avoid becoming a tool manipulated by the big family. How could it fail at this time? Right, status, he doesn't need charity from anyone. Want to, just get it yourself. So, okay. A hint of disappointment flashed across Duan Yuding's face. However, he did not feel the slightest bit of resentment towards Qin Tian for being ungrateful. Even if the other party stops here, the official title of Chief Supervisor of the Ministry of Supervision he obtained was enough to make him equal to the Duan family. Not to mention, is there also that layer of identity blessing? Giant birds with fiery red feathers and wingspans of 100 meters, it began to slowly fly out from the space channel below. The appearance of the fire phoenix, it is extremely similar to the phoenix that Qin Tian knows. But it does not have the peaceful and auspicious aura of the phoenix. Instead, it is filled with violence. Eyes like eagles, the whole body is filled with magical power. Every time the wings flap, it can create a heat wave that is visible to the naked eye. Wherever the body passed, there was heat and thick smoke. It was as if the air was being evaporated and boiled. It is worthy of being ranked in the top 10 Warcraft races. Just the appearance alone has such momentum. The real strength. Qin Tian was secretly shocked. Not panicking at all. In the lower passage, one whiptail dragon after another is spreading its wings and flying out. Having just experienced a war, the whiptail dragons did not appear tired or listless at all. Thanks to the time difference between the outside world and the planet. I was outside for half an hour. More than 7 days have passed on the planet. The whiptail dragon had already recovered from the exhaustion in the previous battle. Besides, the main force in this battle is not the whiptail dragon. Soon, from behind the whiptail dragon, devouring dragons began to appear one after another, their bodies covered with small semicircular scales. The rules of the competition: there are 500 monsters participating in the battle. Qin Tian did not intend to bully the minority with his superior numbers. Only 500 whiptail dragons and 500 devouring dragons were chosen to fight. Compared to the Zerg civilization's upper limit of 10,000. That's quite fair indeed. Shoo! Accompanied by the loud cry of a phoenix. 500 fire phoenixes swooped over to kill them. Opposite, under Qin Tian's will, the 500 devouring dragons in the lead quickly rushed forward. After getting closer, the fire phoenix hovered in the air. With wings flapping violently, fireballs as big as wheels condensed in the air ahead. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The next moment, amidst another burst of sudden phoenix calls, huge fireballs were everywhere, dragging long trails. It emitted a series of sharp whistling sounds and attacked the group of devouring dragons. As fast as a cannonball, the dense terror in an instant, the entire space in front was flooded. What's going on? Duan Yuding frowned slightly. The audience outside the venue was also quite confused. I didn't hear the expected screams. There was not even a scene where a single dragon was injured and fell. Countless exploding fireballs smashed into the group of ball dragons. Not even a spark could be created. That is. As the fireball gradually died down, Duan Yuding quickly saw the scene that made her scalp tingle. The layers of semicircular dragon scales that originally covered the giant dragons, all of them stood up at this moment. Like a huge mouth opening, forming densely packed black holes. The fireball that fell on it flowed in slowly like melted snow. Ablation. No. It's absorption. As a creator who deals with Warcraft all day long, Duan Yuding immediately understood the principle. Next, her eyes narrowed. All the dragons suddenly opened their mouths. Exploding fireballs of the same size as the previous ones shot out from its mouth. This. How is that possible? Duan Yuding was horrified. Immediately fly forward a distance. Upon closer inspection, found the dragon we were fighting against, obviously different from the group of giant dragons with 3 whiptails in the distance. In addition to the scales all over the body, the size is also smaller. Most importantly, Duan Yuding could clearly feel that the fireball that the dragon just spewed out contained a strong magical aura. Absorb reflection magic. Duan Yuding's face darkened. The will and command were released instantly. Spear of weaving flame. The fire phoenix tribe that had just been baptized by the exploding fireball. There was also no damage at all. Fire phoenix is immune to fire damage. Especially fire magic. Falling on them is like the most natural tonic. Mid-air. Giant spears as thick as arms, burning with blazing flames, quickly took shape. However, the same scene happened again. The flaming spear was blocked and absorbed by the holes in the dragon's scales. It was ejected again. Duan Yuding bit her lips tightly. He immediately ignored it and said in a low voice again, explosive fire technique. Fire thunder explosion. Fire storm. Fire realm. Off the court. Everyone stared at the scene of flames rising into the sky on the light screen. Everyone was in a state of confusion and shock. From the beginning, both sides unleashed huge amounts of fire magic on each other. Then it gradually became a regional outbreak. Now the entire battlefield has turned into a billowing flame. The key is, when the flames faded, both major biological populations were intact. They could still understand the fire phoenix beast. But those giant dragons are immune to fire damage. They can also cast magic. Are they not Zerg? Are they Warcraft? The same doubt appeared in almost everyone's mind. In the top box, the old minister stood in front of the window and asked for the nth time, could we be mistaken? Are those giant dragons really not monsters? The group of family heads were speechless. The one who promised before that there would be no mistakes, faced with scenes that break their cognition again and again. I dare not boast any more that there are absolutely no mistakes or omissions. The city guard was helpless. I could only wave for the umpteenth time to call the staff outside the door. The staff member numbly took the order and walked downstairs quickly towards the opposite platform. Soon, and returned numbly, repeating the same answers as before. My lords, after a thorough inspection by the battlefield system, the group of dragons in Qin Tian's Zerg Academy are indeed Zerg creatures. Chapter 69. Above the battlefield. Qin Tian had a look of satisfaction on his face. The other party used all means, it even released fire-related magic that was comparable to forbidden spells. Not only was he unable to do anything to the devouring dragon, on the contrary, as the magic power was rapidly consumed, the group of fire phoenixes showed obvious signs of fatigue. It's like a man punching cotton. Can't cause any harm, and I've exhausted myself. If it weren't for the Fire Phoenix clan's natural immunity to fire, this battle should have ended long ago. We can kill them all just by bouncing off their magic. Qin Tian thought secretly. The main race in the Ice Crystal Star is the Ice Monster. Can only absorb rebounded ice magic. The devouring dragon that has merged the Ice Demon's genes, it can absorb and reflect almost any type of magic. This is actually not surprising. Magic is made up of magical elements. Magical elements are also a type of energy. With the Ice Demon gene as the foundation, is it ice or fire magic? What's the difference? Essentially, they are all extreme uses of energy. The only regret is, it's just that the devouring dragon has no magic power. You can only use the absorbed magic energy to rebound an equal amount of magic attacks. Unable to retaliate exponentially like the Ice Demon. Opposite. Duan Yuding was unwilling to give in. The thought of giving up flashed through my mind. But the idea was quickly dispelled. She bit her teeth lightly and released her will to kill the group of fire phoenixes. Magic doesn't work. Then, let's fight. Do you want to struggle a little longer? Qin Tian shook his head slightly. At his instruction, 500 whip-tailed dragons are ready to go. He immediately spread his wings and flew forward to meet it. Roar! Shoo! The next moment, the roar that shook the heavens, the passionate scream, in an instant, it echoed across the sky. One dragon and one phoenix, two of the most powerful species in biological civilization, they collided violently with each other. The most primitive bloody fight took place in the sky. Dragon feet and phoenix claws, dragon head and phoenix beak, they turned into deadly weapons and poured madly onto each other's bodies. For a time, over the chaotic battlefield, dragon blood is spilled, phoenix feathers fluttered. From time to time, you can see two dragons and phoenixes intertwined and falling downwards. Some died together. But more whip-tail dragons spread their wings again and soared into the sky. The power of Warcraft, it lies in their terrifying magic attacks. Just like the red-scaled ape and the abyss tree man that Qin Tian dealt with before. If it were the fire phoenix under Duan Yuding, it will only be easier. A large-scale magic of the fire realm can destroy it. But without the most powerful magic support, their physique is only slightly stronger than that of ordinary beasts. It is far from being comparable to the dragon clan. Inherited the strong body of the dragon clan, it has also evolved 3 sharp whip-tails suitable for close combat. How could the fire phoenix possibly be a match for the whip-tail dragon? Finally, after losing more than 100 fire phoenixes, Duan Yuding gave up the pointless struggle. Staring at Qin Tian in the distance, a consciousness was transmitted miserably, I give up. In fact, from the moment the order to charge was given, Duan Yuding realized this result. She couldn't and didn't dare to consume all 500 fire phoenixes. The stronger the Warcraft civilization race is, the lower the reproductive capacity, the size of the group will naturally be smaller. 3 whole months. For nearly 100 years on the planet, her Fire Phoenix clan is still in the primitive stage. The entire population only numbers a few thousand. Once the loss is more than half, the subsequent evolution will be even more distant. If we are not careful, there may be a risk of extinction of the group. The competition stipulates that only 500 Warcraft civilizations can participate in the battle. That's the reason. In addition, the defeat was already very obvious. For the determination in my heart, there is no need to increase casualties. Exit consciousness, Duan Yuding looked at the man in front of her. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. No wonder he refused the title that was offered to him. They have the strength to fight for it. Why do you need to deliver it yourself? Back to God, seeing Qin Tian getting up and preparing to leave, Duan Yuding hurriedly said, Sir, wait a minute. What is it? That Duan Yuding pursed her red lips. A blush suddenly appeared on Bei Zi's cheeks. After hesitating for a while, as if she had mustered up a lot of courage, she lowered her eyes and said shyly, Tinger and the young master of the Lin family were just having a casual affair. There was no romantic relationship between them, let alone any physical contact. Oh. Qin Tian responded. He opened the door of the battle room and walked out. Duan Yuding opened her red lips slightly. Stood there in a daze. I have already said it so bluntly without caring about my modesty. He is so ignorant of romance. Just left like this? Oh my god. He really won. The Zerg civilization actually defeated the Warcraft civilization. This is the first time in history. And they are from the Fire Phoenix clan, which ranks among the top 10 in the Warcraft civilization. This is absolutely unprecedented. This battle will go down in history. Hearing the exclamations from the people around. A group of Zerg Academy contestants, everyone's face flushed with excitement. Although they were eliminated in the first round of the group stage. But, they were defeated but still glorious. Because of their session, created a miracle of the weak defeating the strong. Rewrite the Zerg's century-long history of weakness. More importantly, let everyone see hope. At this moment, everyone couldn't help but think of the time when they first entered the branch. Instructor Su's admonition, there is no inherently inferior civilization, only a lazy and weak creator. As long as you work hard, everything is possible. And now, they saw this possibility with their own eyes. Rested for half an hour. Amid the expectant and excited gazes of tens of thousands of people, Qin Tian and Lin Tianyang, dressed in white, stepped onto the platform. The final championship battle of the competition, duel of two dragons. They are all dragons, who will win? I think Lin Tianyang has a better chance of winning. After all, the magic dragon is a genuine dragon creature. The Fire Phoenix is still a true Phoenix clan, but it was defeated. How can this be compared? The Fire Phoenix clan is only a primitive form, while the Demon Dragon clan has evolved a generation, and their combat power is as high as nearly 300,000. Besides, leaving aside magic, in terms of melee combat alone, the physique of the Demon Dragon is no worse than those Zerg dragons. Don't forget that the Zerg have the advantage in numbers. How big can the advantage be? Can he really fight against tens of thousands of them? That makes sense. If they have evolved to the level of a dragon, their population will definitely not be too large. Even if there are 1,000 of them like we did just now, it's still a 2-to-1 situation. Anyway, there's a fight, so we can each win or lose half of it. There was constant discussion and debate off the field. With the lessons learned from the previous few games, no one is stupid enough to guarantee who will win or lose. Brother Qin's race is truly shocking. I admire him so much. In the battle room, Lin Tianyang laughed out loud. Almost the same wording, a compliment of little difference, this made Qin Tian frown slightly. Hesitate a little, he still spoke, if I say that they cannot compare with your dragon race, will you nod in agreement? Then, will you offer to admit defeat and surrender, and hand over the title of champion and viscount? Well. Lin Tianyang was stunned. I soon understood. He shook his head and laughed. If Lin's guess is correct, the Duan family wants to win over Brother Qin with the title of Baron. Yes. Brother Qin refused. Right. So. Lin Tianyang smiled and said, since Brother Qin doesn't want to accept charity, why would I do something so disgusting? Of course, my Lin family is definitely willing to recruit talents like Brother Qin. To be honest, I came to Linen City for Brother Qin. But after seeing you today, I have given up the idea of recruiting you. With Brother Qin's character, he would definitely not be willing to live under someone else's roof. So, Brother Qin, you can rest assured in this battle. I will do my best. Whether we win or lose, you and I don't need to take it to heart. Just treat it as a normal exchange. Afterwards. If Brother Qin thinks highly of me and the Lin family, I would be very lucky. If you don't like it, it can only be said that the Lin family is not so blessed. Qin Tian narrowed his eyes. He really didn't expect the other party to be so straightforward and frank without any concealment. I never expected that, a young man from a large family with a high status in the royal city, a dragon creator who ranks among the top 10 in the Warcraft civilization. Before him, the attitude is so low. Low to it doesn't make people feel any disgust or aversion. That's best, let's get started. Brother Qin, please. Please. Chapter 70. On the battlefield. In the space channel. The giant dragons on both sides began to fly out one after another. Is this the legendary demon dragon clan? This body. It actually looks so much like a real dragon. Qin Tian looked at the creature in the distance in shock. Although I had read the records of the demon dragon clan in the library, I have seen related illustrations in the atlas. But seeing the living creatures with my own eyes, it still made him extremely surprised and envious. The frost dragon on the ice crystal star, in Qin Tian's eyes, in fact, it is no different from a lizard with wings. And the demon dragons on the opposite side, it truly fits his aesthetic. The whole body is like a dragon or a python. Its size is more than twice that of the whiptail dragon. It is more than 200 meters long. It has 2 horns on its head, a long beard hanging from its mouth, a snake neck, eagle claws, tiger paws and cow ears. Covered in dragon scales as black as ink. If it weren't for the 2 pairs of huge wings in front and back that really ruined the atmosphere. It is really not much different from the oriental dragon. But, watching, Qin Tian's brows gradually knitted together. At last, I had to ask Lin Tianyang, who was in the distance, this is what you said. An all-out fight. The dragons that appeared earlier were okay. Each of them is filled with fierceness, strong and majestic, and has great magical power. But the remaining dragons, there is nothing to be seen on the surface. But if you look closely, you can easily find that his magic power is declining, his energy is weak, and he is filled with the air of old age. Some of them were obviously smaller and had no hostility at all. There was still a hint of panic in his eyes. So, in addition to the hundreds of dragons, the rest are all old, weak, sick, disabled and misshapen. What do you mean, Brother Qin? Lin Tianyang first felt a sense of doubt. Then he seemed to understand what Qin Tian meant. Laughing, doesn't this better represent Lin's determination to do his best? The dragon race reproduces poorly, and the population is too small. I spent almost all my money on this battle. Look, I even sent out the old dragons and the dragons that were not yet adults. Regarding this statement, Qin Tian would never believe it. The dragon race's reproduction is indeed very poor. But the demon dragon clan is an exception. According to the records of the creator of the magic dragon civilization that was born over the past 100 years. The smallest group of dragons has more than 2,000 in size. This is the number of adult dragons excluding the old and young ones. If you do this, I won't acknowledge this favor from you. Brother Qin, you are joking. There is no such thing as human feelings. Come on, let's fight to the death. Unless all my magic dragons are destroyed, I will never admit defeat. Qin Tian pondered for a moment. All I had to do was issue a command of will. Below, all Zerg dragons came out in full force. No cooperation, there is no order, all rushed forward in a swarm. Different from Lin Tianyang. For this battle, he really put all his cards on the table. After the battle with the Fire Phoenix, there are still 857 whiptail dragons left. Plus 3 batches of 1,800 devouring dragons and blue-spotted dragons that bred in half a month. The total number is 4,457. The dragon clan is a rare dark-type magical beast. The magic released is also of dark attribute. Qin Tian couldn't ensure that the devouring dragon could absorb this special magical energy. Therefore, the blue-spotted dragon was specially evolved by integrating the genes of the eagle vulture beast, the main race of the King Mu planet. Strong injury recovery ability, it can give the blue spot dragon extremely strong and long-lasting combat capabilities. But, no need. Since the other party has made it clear that he wants to give it to you. Anyway, I won't lose no matter how I fight. Above the battlefield, the 2 large dragons kept flying up and down. The huge bodies of both sides were entangled together. Fighting from the sky to the ground, and then fought from the ground to the sky. The dragon roars, blood splattered. On the scene. It can be said to be extremely bloody and fierce. But the dragon never used magic. Just fight close to the enemy. It is on par with the whiptail dragon. Such a battle, it's really hard to lose. As the dragons of both sides fell and died from time to time, just like Lin Tianyang said, he did fight the last dragon. Congratulations, Brother Qin, for winning first place in the competition. Congratulations. Congratulations. Just exited consciousness, I heard Lin Tianyang's congratulations from the opposite side. Qin Tian stared at the other person speechlessly. After a while, he spoke again and emphasized, I won't accept your favor. What are you talking about? All my magic dragons died, and I was only able to kill 100 of Brother Qin's dragons. How can I talk about friendship? Facing Lin Tianyang's serious nonsense, Qin Tian was both angry and amused. He thought the other party was as gentle and modest as before. A polite and gentlemanly demeanor. I didn't expect that this guy is actually a complete two-faced person. Hard delivery. The key is that you can't really be angry yet. It's like someone giving you a gift. It's okay if you just ignore it. Is it possible that there is any anger or resentment? Off-site, it has already completely boiled over. In fact, from the beginning to the end of the battle. Brutal fighting, the strong visual impact caused by the audience's voices almost never stopped. Especially as Qin Tian walked out of the battle room, the whole scene suddenly erupted in cheers loud enough to pierce the eardrums. Good. Ha ha ha. Inside the second floor box, Su Jian slammed the railing in front of the window. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Dean Ma and other Zerg Academy instructors were trembling with excitement. Getting third place already made them extremely satisfied. They were extremely surprised to win second place. Unexpectedly, Qin Tian could go one step further. Come out on top. Win first place. That is the title of Viscount, which is countless times more noble than Baron. This was something they had never dared to imagine before. After today, we can't call him by his name when we meet. That's right, of course. Sir Qin, please accept my humble respect. Ahem, no need to be polite. Go away, what does it have to do with you, ha ha ha. A group of Zerg Academy instructors were fighting like children. There was uncontrollable excitement on everyone's face. If you don't make a sound, you'll be amazing. If you get this person, you will be weak for 100 years and soar to the sky in one day. Alas, why don't we at the Botanical College have such good fortune? With such achievements made by the Zerg Academy, I'm afraid their status in the future will be far higher than ours. Not to mention you, even our Savage Beast Academy has to stand aside. The instructors from the Botanical College and the Savage Beast College all sighed. Even Zhao Meng's face was filled with envy. Previous year's champions, although they were all taken up by their Savage Beast Academy. But that was just the Baron, how can he possibly compare to the Viscount? Dean Wang glanced at Dean Ma not far away from time to time. The previous shame and anger were gone in his eyes. I no longer dared to feel jealous. A Viscount was born. There is a Zerg Academy under the protection of a Viscount. How could he afford to offend such a person? The lively scene lasted for a long time. Until the old minister, who had changed into his official uniform, and the royal envoy led a group of officials and heads of families to the high platform, only then did the venue gradually quiet down. As per past practice, next, in front of tens of thousands of spectators, perform the ceremony of bestowing titles. Originally it was based on the ancient rituals of Daxia. Welcome the imperial edict, cleanse your body and face, you also need to burn incense and set up an altar. But Daxia was already in name only. All etiquette and rituals should be kept as simple as possible. The old minister came to Qin Tian. He held high in his hand a golden imperial edict. Shouted solemnly, the Emperor of Daxia has issued an imperial decree. Qin Tian took a step back and knelt down. Lin Tianyang behind him also knelt down. At the same time, on and off the field, everyone left their seats. He knelt down and bowed to the old minister who appeared on the light screen. Shouted in unison, Long live our king! Long live our king! The century-long decline of imperial power, the people of the four countries have long recognized their own princes rather than any emperor. In their eyes, the so-called imperial edict, completely equivalent to the king's will. It is indeed the king's will. It's just a formality to use the name of an imperial edict. The old minister was also used to it. It seemed as if he had never heard these outrageous words at all. Without even blinking, still keeping a solemn look, slowly spread out the imperial edict in his hand, chanting, the emperor, in compliance with the will of heaven, proclaims, Linen College has been selecting talents for the country for 100 years and has made great contributions to the country. I am very pleased. Under, it's a long series of foreshadowing. Nothing more than, praise the three major colleges in Linen City in a procedural way. In Qin Tian's ears, it was like listening to a lecture from my past life. The preceding paragraph of standard wording, no matter what you do, you can use it. The real difference, it lies in the final reward. On the day of the competition, Qin Tian from the Zerg Academy won every battle and took first place. He is truly a talent of the empire and a pillar of the country. Therefore, the champion of the competition, Qin Tian from the Zerg Academy. Appoint him as the governor of Wuhan County. Confer him the title of Wuhan Earl. Grant him the land of Wuhan County. I decree this. The voice fell, the whole audience was stunned. Isn't the champion of the competition a viscount? How come it suddenly got upgraded to a higher level? Became a count? Qin Tian's heart was even more shattered. This was something he never expected. You know, for the title, the Pingzi kingdom has always been extremely stingy. The competition over the years, the highest rank in Linen City is only one baron. The other 4 cities are just viscounts of a higher level. This year, because of 2 Warcraft civilizations, Linen City was temporarily granted the same treatment as the other 4 cities under the royal decree. Besides, in this peaceful era, there is almost no way to obtain a title. Viscount, a fiefdom of one county. And the Earl, that's an entire county. Equivalent to a province in Qin Tian's cognition. The two are not even on the same level. Wuanbo, please accept the order. The old minister stepped forward and reminded in a low voice. Your Majesty, thank you for your kindness. Qin Tian spread his hands and raised them above his head. The old minister delivered the imperial edict to Qin Tian. Then he flattered her, My lord, please stand up. Qin Tian stood up. He raised the imperial edict and turned around to look around. For a time, after a moment of silence in the meeting room, instantly, there erupted an excited shout several times more enthusiastic than before, Congratulations to Lord Wuan. Lord Wuan is so great. Congratulations to Lord Wuan. Lord Wuan is so mighty. Congratulations to Lord Wuan. Lord Wuan is so mighty. Chapter 71. The Inner City of Linen. Outside a newly built mansion. 2 students from the Zerg Academy, he was wiping the newly hung plaque of Wuan Earl's mansion. There were some students nearby. There were big red bouquets woven with silk tied to the 2 stone lions in front of the gate. Outside the prefecture, it was filled with a noisy crowd. In the distance, various horse-drawn carriages were coming in an endless stream. Within the prefecture, several female students are helping Qin Tian change his clothes. What you wear, it is the aristocratic earl's uniform inherited from the old system of Daxia. The inner long gown is worn underneath. It is paired with a black robe. Gold thread trim, silver thread embellishment. Solemn texture, it invisibly washed away the childishness on Qin Tian's face. The overall look is majestic and solemn. Uncle, everything is ready. Fatty Bear appeared outside the door. Suddenly I saw Qin Tian in the house wearing Earl's clothes. He immediately subconsciously put away the frivolous look on his face and replaced it with a respectful expression. Okay, I'll be right there. Qin Tian waved his slightly loose sleeves and walked out. Outside, there are busy Zerg Academy students everywhere. The master who graduated from my own academy is about to open his own residence. Many students rushed to help. Fortunately, they are here. This saved Qin Tian, a temporarily penniless uncle, a lot of trouble. Uncle. Along the way, everyone stopped and bowed to Qin Tian. Those who help in the palace, except for the students of this college. Of course, a group of instructors are indispensable. Located near the gate of the palace, there are several long tables. Dean Ma was standing on one side with several instructors. On the front desk, there was a blank red gift book. Su Jian sat behind the desk, writing. Seeing Qin Tian coming, immediately said, Master, it's almost time. I'll be waiting for you. Let's get started. Qin Tian came to the table and said. Clang. Zhang Yuanian, the son of the Zhang family, who had transformed himself into a doorman in front of the door, struck the gong in his hand. As the old Minister of Rights, who was standing at the front of the crowd outside the door, entered the mansion, loudly said, The minister has arrived. Ha ha ha, congratulations to Lord Wuan on the opening of his mansion. I wish Lord Wuan good health and happiness. The old minister laughed heartily. A servant immediately came forward and presented several blue and gold cards tied with red flowers. A gift from the Minister of the Chancellery, 500,000 gold. Dean Ma sang loudly. At the same time, he took the gold card with both hands. Hand it to the instructor behind you and put it in a prepared gift box. Su Jian began to perform the pen-raising ceremony. Thank you, sir. Please come in. Qin Tian cupped his hands in response. The royal city's special envoy has arrived. Congratulations to the Lord for opening his mansion. Lord, be prosperous. The envoy, who was not much older than the old minister, waved to the servants behind him. The gift from the special envoy is 500,000 gold. Thank you, please. After greeting the envoy, Qin Tian turned and went into the mansion. The entire city of Linen, those who are worthy of his personal welcome, just these two. One represents the nominal emperor of Daxia. The other represents the king of Pingxi. Lin Tianyang, the son of the Lin family in Wangcheng, has arrived. He has brought a gift of 400,000 gold and an additional land deed. The chief supervisor of the supervisory department has arrived. The gift is 400,000 gold coins, plus 10 night shining pearls. The lord of the Linen City Guard has arrived. The gift is 300,000 gold and 500 slaves. The patriarch of the Duan family has arrived. Here comes a gift of 300,000 gold and a pair of jade and coral. The head of the Chen family has arrived. The gift is 300,000 gold and 1,000 pieces of brocade. The sound of announcing congratulations lasted for more than half an hour before it died down. In the hall and in the courtyard, the dozens of banquet tables were almost full. As the host, Lord Qin, signaled the start of the banquet, amid the flattery of the great lords, dignitaries, and officials of all ranks, since the old Shangshu, toast to the uncle one by one. Except for the two special envoys, Qin Tian had to give face and drank it all. The rest are basically just used to touch the lips as a token of appreciation. Even so, after a banquet, Qin Tian was still dizzy from drinking. After the banquet, I went to bed early. I didn't wake up until noon the next day. Yesterday's gift list included 500 slaves sent by the city guard office. Since it can be used as a gift, she definitely couldn't be an ordinary maid who had just been sold to a wealthy family and didn't know the rules. They have all undergone rigorous training. Just like the confinement nannies and nurses in the previous life, they have skilled professional skills. Today, they all played their roles very well. Uncle, get up. There are maids waiting outside the door to serve you. After washing up, the exquisite meal has been served. After dinner, Qin Tian returned to the hall. While drinking the after-meal tea served by the maid, while casually flipping through the gift book that Su Jiancheng presented to him yesterday. The gift money is not much, they range from 100,000 to 500,000. This does not mean that those big families with rich heritage are stingy. There are two special envoys representing the emperor and the prince, and the maximum salary is 500,000. How dare they cross over? But everyone has something else to give. All kinds of rare treasures, silks and satins are available. I have to say, when a person has status and power, those who want to curry favor with you, it can be said that your food, clothing, housing, and transportation are all arranged clearly. At this time, Fatty Bear walked into the hall yawning. He was busy too late yesterday and rested in the mansion. Brother Qin, good morning. I was almost exhausted yesterday. Seeing Qin Tian on the first place, Fatty Bear greeted him and sat down on the chair. Just soon, he stood up again in fear and trepidation as if he had suddenly come to his senses. See this, Qin Tian just smiled. Sipping the tea in the cup, Road, it has been performed. Well. Fatty Bear grinned awkwardly. He just wanted to bring the two sides closer together. Deliberately acting very casual. But it is impossible to say that there are no difficulties and fears in my heart. Today is different from the past. The person who used to be on good terms with me. Now he is an earl who is about to take charge of an entire county. The gap in status between the two. Just like the difference between ordinary people and the creator. By the way, thank you for your hard work yesterday. Qin Tian put down the teacup in his hand and said. There were not enough people in the palace yesterday. Dean Ma and instructors such as Su Jian were busy welcoming and seeing off guests. Fatty Xiong, who is closest to Mr. Qin, he almost became the butler of the Earl's mansion. Busy inside and outside, dealing with all kinds of small and big chores, I am really tired. The fat on his body has obviously become much looser. It's not hard, it's not painful, it's my blessing to be able to serve you. Fatty Bear leaned forward and said. Later, go to the treasury and get 20,000 gold. Thank you, uncle. Fatty Bear didn't refuse. The reward from the superior to the inferior, different from gifts between friends. To refuse to take it is to be disrespectful and ungrateful. And there should be more than 100 students who came to help yesterday, right? Replying to Lord Bo, there are 182 people in total. Well, if you make another trip this afternoon, I'll give you 5,000 gold each, and in addition. After thinking about it, Qin Tian continued, take another 500,000 and give it to Instructor Su to be used as the remuneration for the dean and other instructors. As for how to distribute it, let him decide for himself. Yes, uncle. Fatty Bear took the order and retreated. Outside the door, a servant came in and reported, Master, the young master of the Lin family is here to see you. Lin Tianyang, you're welcome soon. Under the guidance of the subordinates, Lin Tianyang, dressed in white, entered the mansion. Uncle Fu Kong. Brother Lin, please. Qin Tian stood up to greet him. The guests and hosts took their seats. Qin Tian said, thank you, Brother Lin, for your generous gift yesterday. It's just a few 100,000 gold coins, why should you thank me? Oh, you mean the deed to the Earl's mansion? That's out of the question. The mansion was originally a reward from the court, and the deed just happened to be deposited with me. Yesterday, I didn't have anything to show off, so I shamelessly gave the deed as a gift. I'm sorry to make you laugh. Brother Lin, you're welcome. The entire Earl's palace occupies 4 or 5 acres of land. In the inner city where every inch of land is valuable, the palace has everything from small bridges to flowing water and pavilions. There are hundreds of houses, big and small. The decoration is also extremely elegant and luxurious. In terms of spending, at least tens of millions. The Pingxi kingdom has suffered from cold and poverty for a long time. The Earl was only given a symbolic reward of 500,000 gold to establish his own mansion. How could the imperial court spend so much money? But seeing that the other party was playing dumb, Qin Tian didn't dwell on the matter. Turning to look at Lin Tianyang, asked, Brother Lin, have you known this for a long time? Know what? Manor. Fiefdom? Lord, are you referring to your fiefdom, Wuhan County? Good. Qin Tian turned to the servant outside the door, someone, get the map. Someone, get the map. Capital City. Inside the Inspector General's mansion of Zhenbei State. Fan Yuxian ordered his subordinates to fetch the map of the Great Xia Kingdom. Hang it on the wall in front of the hall. In the hall, there were also inspectors from the other 3 countries sitting there. Everyone, I believe you all know why we are calling you together this time. The land of Zhongzhou has been shelved for 100 years because of border issues. My king means that now is the time to make a decision. Fan Yuxian stretched out his hand and marked the location of the capital on the map and pointed at it heavily. He also drew a circle around an area surrounding the capital. The imperial power of Daxia declined over the past century. A total of 13 states were almost completely divided up by the 4 major vassal states. Among them, Zhenbei Kingdom and Pingxi Kingdom have the largest territories, each occupying 4 states. The most powerful one, a vast, cold and sparsely populated western region. The states of Andong and Jingnan each occupied 2 states. But they are all the richest. 1 state left. It is Zhongzhou where the capital of Daxia is located. Because it is located in the central area of Shikoku, it is a place that military strategists must fight for. It is said that whoever gains this state can gain the whole world. As for how to divide Zhongzhou, the 4 countries have been deadlocked and arguing endlessly. Under mutual restraint, we cannot rashly start a national war. So it was put on hold. Over the past century, the 4 countries deliberately ignored the Zhongzhou border issue. They all have a tacit understanding between their own borders and the capital. A county was established. Civil officials were sent to govern, and there were no garrisons. In the 4 countries. Although Pingxi state was the weakest, but the old prince's character has always been weak but not cowardly and strong. This can be seen from the names of the 3 cities where the creators are concentrated, Zuxian City, Shimo City, and Miai City. So, this county is located between the border of Pingxi state and the capital. The old prince adheres to his own vigorous character. Name it, Wuhan. Chapter 72. My lords. Zhongzhou, what do you think? In the inspectorate of the capital, Fan Yuxian glanced at the 3 people present and asked. My intention to pacify the Western Kingdom is the same. Excluding the few miles around the capital, the rest of Zhongzhou will be divided equally among the 4 kingdoms. Fu Wenhai spoke first. Without waiting for Fan Yuxian to speak, Gray, who was always impatient, immediately said coldly, "What a joke! Since ancient times, those who are capable have obtained it. How can it be divided equally? Our Jingnan country is strong, so we should have 50%. Fart." Hearing this, Guo Wenzu quit immediately. He angrily said, "You, Jingnan, want 50%? Where does that leave Andong? Are you going to let us share the remaining half with Zhenbei? Humph. If you don't agree, then let's fight. How much you eat depends on your ability. I'll fight you if I want to. Am I afraid of you?" Guo Wenzu was not afraid at all. In this era, the comprehensive national strength of a country it is far from relying solely on the amount of soldiers, horses, money, and food as in ancient times. Most of them, it depends on the strength and number of domestic creators. Among the three great civilizations, the country of Anton enjoys a unique scientific and technological civilization. The number of creators ranks second. It is ranked only below Pingxi state, where biological civilization is concentrated. But its strength is not much inferior to the extraordinary civilization. There are countless types of technological weapons. Plus the huge wealth accumulated over hundreds of years, even though the national strength is still behind that of Zhenbei and Jingnan. But it's not that bad. Fu Wenhai sat on one side. He was silent and detached from the world, like an old monk in meditation. Even though Guo Wenzu had just excluded the entire Pingxi kingdom, he couldn't stiffen his neck and say anything indignant. A weak country has no diplomacy. The country's strength is like this. What can he do? Certainly, if the old prince with a strong character was here, there will definitely be outcry. Like Guo Wenzu who made the outrageous statement, "I'll hit anyone I want, no one is afraid of me." But how could he ignore the safety of the country because of a momentary anger? Pingxi state was very poor. No money, no food. The creator is the weakest biological civilization. Once the war begins, he didn't find it strange that others took advantage of the situation to destroy his country. First place. Fan Yuxian picked up the teacup and blew on it. I tasted it slowly. I deliberately waited for the atmosphere to become tense for a while. Only then did he put down his teacup and play the role of peacemaker. He said seriously, "My two lords, please do not act on impulse. The consequences of a national war are too serious to be taken lightly. Daxia has enjoyed peace for 100 years, and the people have lived and worked in peace and contentment. If war breaks out, it will surely hurt the people and cause great suffering. This can only be used as a last resort with no room for maneuver." Fan Yuxian didn't say anything definite. In fact, for Zhenbei and Jingnan, dividing the land by force is the best option. Both countries are the most powerful countries in the world. It is located in the north and south. There are no borders. Naturally, there will be no conflicts of interest. But national war is not simply about you fighting yours and me fighting mine. Forced war, under the defeat, Pingxi and Andong will inevitably form an alliance with each other to keep each other warm. It would be fine if the two major countries could be determined to form an alliance. But this is simply not realistic. Suppose Pingxi and Andong attack one of the countries from the east and west. The other country will just sit on the sidelines and watch the fight. If necessary, they may even secretly add fuel to the fire. Even simply launch a war to annihilate the country, form a three-nation coalition and destroy one of the countries first. Neither of the two great powers can guarantee that they can stay out of the conflict. When two weak countries point their spears at each other, no one can start a war lightly. This led to the Central Plains being shelved for 100 years. As Fan Yuxian said, war is the last resort when negotiations are unsuccessful and there is no other solution. Does Master Fan have any good plan? Fu Wenhai very appropriately brought up the latter. As a special envoy of a country, if you don't even have this little bit of eyesight, wouldn't you have been living in vain? That's the best strategy. Fan really has one. Fan Yuxian glanced at Fu Wenhai approvingly. Continued, the world today. Most of the national power of each country belongs to the creator in each country. So, for a corner of the world, rather than mobilizing troops and sending generals to fight each other, it would only waste national strength. Why not devote all the creators from various countries to a small-scale fight? The winner takes the land, the loser loses the land. It makes sense. What do you think? Fu Wenhai frowned when he heard this. Gray and Guo Wenzu also frowned. Is Mr. Fan joking? Is this what you call the best strategy? The two looked at Fan Yuxian in confusion. The Creator is the foundation of all nations. A large number of falls will inevitably cause serious damage and endanger the foundation of the country. In this case, why not just have a unification battle? Hee. Fan was indeed joking. It is unwise to throw away the life of the Creator for a little turf dispute. Therefore, Fan has another best plan. Obviously, Fan Yuxian is not so naive. This is a suggestion that the three countries cannot possibly accept. This is mainly to lay the groundwork. Fan Yuxian glanced at the three people who were staring at him. No one waited for anyone to set up the ladder. Frankly speaking, the best strategy is the competition between the civilizations of the creator races. When the game is over, each country sends out the strongest of its domestic creators. On the planet, command creatures of each species to join the battle to decide life and death. In the same way, the winner gains land and the loser loses land. Just the loss of some creatures. That is, it will not have any impact on the creator himself. We have solved the problem that has troubled our 4 countries for 100 years. Does anyone have any comments? Fan Yuxian finished speaking. Then someone else said, now that things have come to this, Fan will no longer cover up or conceal anything. This is the decision our country can come up with, and it is the most suitable for the current national situation and the interests of all countries. The land of Zhongzhou, my king has no intention of putting it on hold any longer. And it has been clearly authorized. Either the countries agree to it. The only option is a national war. Before you express your opinions, Fan has to give you a reminder. Once the national war begins, it's hard to undo what has been done. It's hard to undo what has been done. Inside the mansion of Wuan Earl, Qin Tian pointed to Wuan County, which was sandwiched between the border of Pingxi State and the capital city on the map. Looking at Lin Tianyang, he said, you mean, even if Benbo resigns as county governor, it won't work? My lord, you are joking. The king has given the order, and there are tens of thousands of witnesses. How can we just do it if we want to, or not do it if we don't want to? Oh, you really didn't know about this beforehand. My lord, although my Lin family is rich and powerful, with businesses all over the country, my father is the current Minister of State, and my Lin family alone controls 3 of the 8 major supervisory offices in the royal city. My eldest sister is the king's most beloved princess, and the mother of the current only princess, and. Okay, I know that your Lin family is very powerful. Qin Tian interrupted Lin Tianyang's nonsense. What I want to say is that no matter how powerful the Lin family is, they are not gods after all. How could they possibly detect the king's sudden intention? Or maybe the king issued 2 royal decrees. One was the Viscount and Jixian fiefdom that were almost public, at least not a secret in the upper circles, and the other was a secret decree. For example, if the Earl won the championship, a secret decree would be issued. In short, if I knew. What would happen if I knew? Then I will definitely feel more at ease when sending it. Qin Tian. Actually, it can't be considered a gift, master. Frankly speaking, even if Lin goes all out, the chances of winning are only 50-50 at best, and may even be lower. Lin Tianyang said this without any humility. That battle, 500 demon dragons against more than 4,000 Zerg dragons. The chances of winning are really slim. Rather than losing the battle, it's better to just give up and admit defeat. At least you can earn some favor. Seeing that Qin Tian ignored him, it seems that in order to remedy this, Lin Tianyang said quickly, but rest assured, master. If Lin knew about it in advance, he would definitely inform you and would not let you take on such a hot potato. Now, let's talk about this. Qin Tian took a deep breath. Try hard to hold back the curse words that are about to come out of your mouth. The world will eventually divide after a long period of unity, and will eventually unite after a long period of division. This is the trend. Daxia enjoyed peace for 100 years. The Creator era also developed over 100 years. In fact, it should have collapsed long ago. This is also the reason why he is eager to seek a higher position. Before the building collapsed, at the very least, you must have control over external forces that belong to you. And once the war of unification breaks out, the county towns established by various countries in Zhongzhou will inevitably be the first to be hit. If he is given a few years of patience and development, with enough origins, summons enough Zerg creatures in batches. Not to mention the mere Wuan County, even if I go to the Imperial City and kick that puppet emperor off the throne, so what if I personally lit the fuse of the 4-nation war? But right now, Everything is still in its infancy. He was forced to be caught in the fire of these 4 countries. Don't worry too much, master. Everything has 2 sides. You might as well think more about the good side. Forget it. Now that things have come to this, there's nothing wrong with thinking about it. By the way, what are you doing here? Oh, I almost forgot. Lin came here specially to give a gift to Master Bo. Lin Tianyang reached out and patted. An old man in his 50s with a kind face walked in from outside the door. Uncle Fu Kong. The old man bowed towards Qin Tian. I have noticed that the mansion of Lord Bo has many servants, but it is only lacking a housekeeper. Lin Tianyang pointed at the old man. This man is the housekeeper of Lin's mansion. His name is Wang Bo. He is a dutiful and capable person. I hope you will accept him as your successor. Housekeeper. Uncle Qin glanced at Lin Tianyang meaningfully. After a while, nodding, okay, thank you. If you have anything to say, you can pass it on through Uncle Wang. Good. Then Lin will not bother you anymore. After watching Lin Tianyang get up and leave, Qin Tian looked at the old man standing in front of him with his back bent. From today on, you will be the chief steward of the Earl's palace. I thank you for your support, master. Well, go down and do your work. Yes, uncle. Looking at the old man's back, Qin Tian tapped the table subconsciously. So, the king of Pingxi, are you still thinking about my name as the devil? Is it a test? Still sure? No matter what, all this, they all gave him a vague feeling that the building was about to collapse and a storm was about to come. If it weren't for the imminent war, how could Pingxi state send a person who might be a demon? Pushed to the forefront? After thinking for a while, Qin Tian sank into consciousness. Enter Mars. Welcome to the Lord. Came the Queen Mother's voice. Qin Tian didn't waste time talking to him. He spoke directly, I need to evolve a group of humanoids. Chapter 73. Humanoid? The Queen Mother seemed unable to understand the meaning of the Lord's words. There was a hint of doubt in the huge dragon's eyes. He tilted his dragon head slightly as if thinking. After a while, the Queen Mother raised her head. He sent a tentative questioning thought to Qin Tian. Not specific words. Instead, it was a blurry image of a humanoid creature. Back then on Blue Sun Star, Qin Tian once captured several humans and threw them into Mars. After failing to obtain the origin, he threw the body to the Queen Mother. Therefore, there are human gene sequences in the Queen Mother's gene pool. Qin Tian closed his eyes. Carefully observe the images that appear in your consciousness. In the screen, the human figure is prominent. It has a head, arms, legs and other structures. But the Queen Mother may want to enhance her fighting power. Instinctively fused some insect genes. The feet turned into sharp blades like those of the killer war bug. The flat hands also appear to be sharp. No. The insect characteristics are too obvious. Qin Tian opened his eyes and shook his head. The voice fell, the image disappears. Soon, the Queen Mother sent out another image. It still doesn't work. No need for Zerg carapace on your skin. Communicated repeatedly several times. A human body, at least perfect on the surface, finally took shape in Qin Tian's consciousness. After the reproduction order was issued, Qin Tian opens the system interface. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolution stage, 4 generations of evolution population size, 387,221 planet origin, 132,895 auxiliary function, super god level deduction. The evolution index of the parasite colony, it is still a 4th generation evolutionary form from the whiptail dragon period. The devouring dragon and the blue dragon that evolved later, just multiply algebra, it's not evolutionary algebra. Want to take it to the next level, the next generation's combat power must be more than twice that of the whiptail dragon. That is the minimum standard of 400,000 combat power. The size of the entire group, compared to half a month ago, it's decreasing instead of increasing. During this period, in order to hatch the various species needed for Dabi, this caused the population's reproduction to come to a temporary standstill. In addition to the more than 50,000 camel worms that serve the Queen Mother and take care of the larvae, the second generation of killer war bugs have been driving away the continuous consumption of beasts on the star of 10,000 beasts during this period of time. Nearly 50,000 heads were lost. There are about 300,000 left. After the internal competition of the third generation of destroyer warbugs, I have been doing side exploration missions. There are still more than 28,000 left. 3 major dragon creatures, in the big battle against the Fire Phoenix and Demon Dragon tribes, they suffered some losses. However, it will be supplemented later. In 3 pits not far from the Queen Mother, thousands of dragon eggs of whip-tailed dragons, devouring dragons, and blue-spotted dragons are stored there. The dragon creature's egg-laying and growth cycles are too long. This can't be rushed. As for the upgraded versions of the Killer Bug and the Annihilator Bug, not many hatched before the big competition. All consumed in a few battles. Qin Tian had no intention of reproducing and replacing the 2 original ethnic groups. The reason is simple. Incorporating dragon genes, this results in a reproduction cycle of more than a year. Its combat capability is only 1 or 2 times higher than that of the 3rd generation destroyer warbug. It is difficult to achieve scale in the short term. Especially when the source of acquisition is gradually reduced, he must not put the cart before the horse and blindly pursue strength in combat power. 1 month. 30 whole years on the planet. The origin has only increased by more than 5,000. On average, it takes 2 days on the planet to get a little. We must speed up the efficiency of obtaining the origin. Develop Aoki planet. There is also the issue of the future evolutionary direction of the entire parasitic insect race and the division of single-type populations. These need to be put on the agenda as soon as possible. Ponder for a moment. Qin Tian put aside the thoughts in his mind. Look at the white insect egg that is 1 meter tall and has just been laid by the queen. Now the priority is, first of all, we should increase the power in the outside world that truly belongs to us. Especially as he was about to set off for his fiefdom in Wuhan County. He needs to strengthen his absolute safety even more. No matter how well the planet develops, if you can't even protect your own safety, what else to talk about? In fact, all the efforts of the creator in the planet, the purpose is to better serve the outside world. This devil's identity. Qin Tian glanced at the space passage of Wanshao Star. I couldn't help but grit my teeth. If it weren't for the massacre that Qi Yin committed 100 years ago, why would he need to care about so many things? With the current hundreds of thousands of origins, even if it is unable to support the summoning of millions of warbugs, you can also prioritize summoning a small group of Zerg creatures to protect yourself. But under this title, he can only be like an ordinary creator, summon a creature in the early stage. The key is, even if I summon a whip-tail dragon, the most powerful of the Zerg, it is also far from reaching the safety threshold in Qin Tian's mind. And, he also urgently needed a group of subordinates who could be trusted to work for him. So, evolved a group of humanoid guards who were absolutely loyal to him. It became one of the few choices. Out of consciousness. Qin Tian had a simple dinner and immediately entered the planet again. Just as the consciousness body was manifested, I received feedback from the Queen Mother in my mind. At the same time, I also saw a male human standing next to the Queen Mother. So soon. Qin Tian was slightly surprised. It took only half an hour. That is 1 week on the planet. Has the humanoid egg laid by the Queen Mother hatched and grown? Dominate. Male human facing Qin Tian, he knelt on 1 knee and performed a human etiquette. Stand up. Qin Tian floated down. Look around carefully. The male human was naked. Square face, the outline is powerful and resolute. His body is so muscular that it's a bit too strong. And that huge. Qin Tian glanced at him speechlessly. He summoned a killer war bug at will. Pointed at the male human. Under its will. The man and the insect immediately rushed towards each other. Just met, the male human was knocked away violently. One of the arms was directly cut off by the war bug's sharp forelimbs. It's still too weak. The physical qualities of the human race, no matter how strong you are. After all, it can't compare to the war bugs that are built for killing. Qin Tian shook his head slightly. He shouted away the war bugs that wanted to continue killing. Flashed in front of the male human. One arm was cut off. Being so badly hit, he didn't even frown at all. He immediately got up without saying a word. Qin Tian lowered his gaze. It fell on the wound on the opponent's arm. Inside the body. It's indeed the structure of an insect. On the surface, this humanoid creature is no different from humans. But the broken arm, what is presented is the skeletal structure unique to insects. In simple terms, it is a Zerg creature in a human body. At this point, Qin Tian was not surprised at all. Otherwise, how can the growth cycle be so fast? How can the pain of trauma be so low? In this way, the previous idea is no longer feasible. Qin Tian sighed. Waved. Let the killer war bug end the short and insignificant life of that male human. With the power of the Queen Mother, Qin Tian believes that it is entirely possible to give birth to a regardless of external features, or the internal organs, they can all remain creatures that are not much different from humans. But humans cannot survive on Mars. It is estimated that it will die immediately after hatching. Not to mention, what's the point of summoning as many ordinary weak humans as possible? Is it a waste of essence? And Zerg humanoid creatures like the male human just now are covered in human skin. Their combat power is definitely stronger than that of ordinary humans. He can barely fulfill the duties of a temporary guard. But if they are summoned to the outside world in large numbers, when you encounter some danger, injuries and deaths will be inevitable. It is easy for outsiders to discover their inhuman nature. This caused the 4 countries to become suspicious of his identity as a demon. Instead, why not just summon some Zerg creatures? At last, or can we only rely on the human soldiers on Blue Sun Star? Qin Tian frowned. Well-trained soldiers, to form a certain scale, their combat capability is definitely much stronger than that of ordinary humans. And thousands of them were called out. Don't worry about leakage. The only trouble, it's loyalty. Dominate. Slave, I feel your troubles. Qin Tian looked at the Queen Mother who was looking at him. The emotions that I inadvertently expressed were so clear. After a moment's hesitation, Qin Tian said, I'm thinking about how to control the life and death of some common species. Hearing this, a hint of confusion appeared in the Queen Mother's eyes. It's not the same confusion as before. Rather, it seems as if he is wondering why the master would be troubled by such a thing. The next moment, the Queen Mother's body squirmed. An egg is laid at the tail. No, to be precise, it's a large mass of eggs. Each one is only the size of a grain of rice. This is... Qin Tian looked over. Soon, he suddenly understood. Then he smiled bitterly and sighed helplessly. Or maybe he is a bit confused. Just as the Queen Mother was confused, why would I bother myself with controlling the life and death of other species? How could I possibly worry about such a small thing? After all, his main civilization race, but it's a parasitic Zerg. Chapter 74. Hosting Zerg, the most initial ability. It is parasitic. Coexist with the host. With parasites as vectors, in a moment, controls the life and death of its host. Is it difficult? The funny thing is, I have been worrying about this for such a long time. It's really dark under the lamp. Qin Tian shook his head helplessly. Look at the group of insect eggs laid by the queen. These eggs should be the original bodies of the parasites. Or, it is a deeper level of degradation. Much older than the worms first seen on Mars. If these ancient parasite eggs are used as a vector, you can control the life and death of others, so, can I directly? Qin Tian suddenly thought of another possibility. Immediately sent a questioning consciousness to the Queen Mother. After receiving a positive response, Qin Tian did not hesitate. The hatching order was immediately issued. At the same time, he also issued the order, using the previous human body as a template, match as many frost dragon genes as possible. In addition, integrate a certain amount of eagle beast genes to enhance recovery ability. We still need to merge. Never mind. It's up to you to decide how to match and choose. Anyway, give me all the genetic sequences of the entire population. Hatch a group of the most powerful humanoid creatures. Qin Tian simply gave up interfering. Fusion gene, it's no joke. It's not just a random combination. It is possible that the 2 genes are incompatible with each other. Or there is rejection. He just opens his mouth and gives orders at random. I'm afraid it will backfire. Eventually, a useless deformity was produced. Give it to the Queen Mother. The effect will be best. The only requirement is to give it a human body. In terms of quantity, first reproduce 50 people. Summoning large numbers of humanoid creatures to serve as ordinary soldiers, death might attract attention. But he summoned a few as his personal guards, there is still no problem. It really came to the point where the guards were sent out to fight. Do I still need to worry about my damn demon identity? Follow the will of the master. The Queen Mother closed her dragon eyes, the body began to tremble. Qin Tian didn't stay on the planet for long. Return to the outside world immediately. We found an open area in the backyard of the mansion. Stand in the middle. Then he sank back into consciousness and returned to Mars. Flash to the habitat of the whip-tailed dragon. Under his gaze, a whip-tailed dragon immediately flapped its wings and took off. Hovering in the air ahead. Qin Tian glanced at the giant dragon that was about to be summoned. Then close your eyes and concentrate, begin to carefully perceive your body in the outside world. Summon creatures, its principle, it's similar to when fighting or invading other planets. First, you need a coordinate point. Then open the corresponding space channel. The difference is, the origins of what the two require are almost worlds apart. The fusion stone is the medium for communicating between planets. Like a hub, connecting billions of planets in the vast star field. Therefore, between the planets, there is already a stable connection channel between them. Normally closed. When use instruments or crystal balls to sense the coordinates of the other party's planet. Then consume a little bit of the planet's origin to open a relative space channel. It's like a closed door. The creator only needs to expend a little effort to reach out and open the door. But there is no channel to the outside world. The fusion magic stone is stored in the capital of Daxia on the outside planet. It can also be understood as, the planet that the creator merged with the planet on which he lives, belong to two different planes. There are coordinates, there is no channel. It can only be broken open by force. Moreover, the channel is unstable and extremely chaotic. It is filled with all kinds of violent energy turbulence. Even the strongest dragon creatures in biological civilization, there is no way to resist the stranglehold of turbulence. So, this requires massive amounts of planetary origin to support it. Gradually, under Qin Tian's deliberate perception, in my mind, a blurry figure standing in the courtyard slowly appeared. Buzz. The next moment, as Qin Tian's will burst out. The vast Martian origin was quickly withdrawn from Mars. Powerful energy fluctuations create a series of strong vibrations in the air. With the naked eye, it was like thick fog suddenly rose up over the entire surface of Mars. Quickly gathered in front of Qin Tian. Forming a huge original air mass. The tremendous energy, in the air, starts squeezing inwards. Start stirring and tearing like crazy. Like a torn white paper, a tiny crack was gradually torn open in the air. Beyond the cracks, Qin Tian's real body standing with his eyes closed is vaguely visible. The original foggy air mass, instantly split into two. One of them flowed in through the crack like water. The cracks are constantly being stretched and expanded. The other stream flowed towards the whip-tail dragon. Wrap it up completely. Receive. Qin Tian conveyed a will. The whip-tail dragon quickly folded its wings and curled up its huge body. The outer origin shield then quickly compressed inward. Until it was close to the curled-up body of the whip-tail dragon. It's still too big. This consumption. Qin Tian looked at the giant sphere in front of him with a painful look. While calling out the system, he stared at the rapidly decreasing origin value on the interface. While continuing to inject original energy into the protective shield outside the whip-tail dragon's body. The essence needed to summon creatures, mainly used to protect the origin shield of living organisms. As for breaking open the cracks to expand space, that can be almost ignored. Therefore, the size of the organism will determine the amount of source consumption. Intelligent races among extraordinary civilizations and technological civilizations. Small build, very low consumption, but usually the planet's original energy is almost exhausted. Although the planet of biological civilization is rich in resources. But the body is huge, the consumption of origin is extremely terrifying. Based on the exploration and practice of some creators over the past centuries. A creature as big as a whip-tail dragon, even if you curl up to reduce the size as much as possible, the origin shield formed, at least half of the planet's original essence must be extracted to condense and strengthen it. Otherwise, it will be easily torn apart by the violent turbulence in the crack. Causing the death of the organisms inside. Causes the summon to fail. Convert it into numbers. Mars originally had more than 80,000 origins. That is to say, the price of summoning a whip-tail dragon, as high as 40,000 origins. 3 months, in the past 100 years on the planet, in total, about 50,000 original energies were obtained. This will cost 40,000. Qin Tian couldn't help but feel distressed. With the continuous investment of the origin, the shield is getting thicker and thicker. Once the minimum standards are met, Qin Tian immediately cut off the source supply. Ahead, the whiptail dragon disappeared completely. Instead, it is a thick black sphere with tremendous energy. On the other side, the space crack has also expanded to a large enough extent. Qin Tian had an idea. The giant black ball immediately became like a rubber ball. Instantly ejected into the cracked channel. Outside world, the backyard of the Earl's mansion. A huge black shadow quickly rushed out from the crack in the sky. Only a thin layer of origin shield remained. Then it shattered and dissipated. The curled whiptail dragon stretched out its body, falling behind Qin Tian's body. Roar! The whiptail dragon spread its wings. Raise the dragon's head, roar to the sky. The high and long dragon roar, sweeping out, rippling in the silent night sky of Linen City, it didn't stop for a long time. Chapter 75. The sound of continuous dragon roars, piercing the night sky of Linen City, it also shattered everyone's dreams. The heads of the major families, the leaders of the major forces, even the 2 special envoys who have not yet left, they woke up and walked quickly to the door. He looked in surprise in the direction where the dragon's roar came from. Not long after, countless black-clad people, leaping out rapidly from various mansions. In the night it turned into afterimages. Inside the mansion of Wuan Earl. Almost at the same time as the dragon roared, Uncle Wang appeared outside the backyard door. The servants in the mansion were not much slower. Then appeared in various places in the backyard. They stared at the 100-meter-long dragon in the yard. There was shock, there is shock, more, my legs were still shaking instinctively. But no one left out of fear. Even if the dragon let out a threatening growl. They just subconsciously took a few steps back in fear. Continue to turn your gaze to the uncle standing in front of the dragon. In the courtyard, Qin Tian slowly opened his eyes. Glancing around, then his body trembled, it seems that I am a little exhausted. One hand on the forehead, with one hand he supported himself on the dragon's head which had lowered in time. Uncle, uncle. Nothing, Benbo just summoned a creature, and his consciousness was too much, so he just needs to rest for a night. Everyone, go away. Qin Tian waved his hand. He stopped Uncle Wang from coming to help. She also waved away several maids who wanted to come forward to serve her. Turn around, he left the backyard tremblingly. The whip-tailed dragon that had just been summoned followed closely. Guard closely behind you. Back to the bedroom, Qin Tian closed the door. The fatigue on his face disappeared. The hunched body straightened up. Summoning creatures does indeed drain the consciousness of the creator. After all, it is the consciousness of the creator that is fused with the planet. The origin is the core energy of a planet. In other words, the two complement each other. Once the source is consumed too much, it is bound to have some impact on the creator's consciousness level. But the current total amount of origin on Mars is more than 130,000. A decrease of 40,000. It's far from being serious enough for him to be like this. Through the crack in the door, Qin Tian looked coldly at Uncle Wang and a group of servants who had not yet dispersed in the distance. Those people, are you really still thinking about my identity as a demon? I want to see me. Is it possible to summon hundreds of dragons with a wave of the hand? With a demon title on his head, in addition, Dabby is too dazzling. How could they ignore themselves? How dare they take their eyes off me? For example, Wang Bo, is this really a thoughtful gesture from Lin Tianyang? Of course. Lin Tianyang deliberately reminded me before leaving. This is equivalent to clearly indicating Wang Bo's identity. Let this person serve as the medium for communication between the Lin family and the Bo family. At the same time, this is also a fact that everyone knows. But what about the slaves? These people are all gifts sent by the city governor. As you can imagine, how many secret sentries are mixed in? How many people do the major families have? All this, Qin Tian knew what was going on. Since you accepted it so generously, it is equivalent to tacitly consenting to this kind of snooping behavior. I don't take it to heart. Anyway, when I summoned the creature that supports me, after expanding and enriching my own strength, these small fish and shrimps can't make any waves. But I don't know why, when I just opened my eyes, I saw the couples around me staring at me. It feels like being surrounded by enemies. Qin Tian suddenly felt a deep loneliness. Perhaps, this feeling has lasted for a year. It's just that it's usually accumulated and buried deep in my heart. At this moment, all the emotions that were brought to mind by the scene burst out. In this world, he has no family. No relatives, only yourself. The whip-tailed dragon guarding the courtyard outside the gate, it seemed to sense the master's loneliness. A low groan was heard. Oh! A smile appeared on Qin Tian's lips. Looking outside at the pair of huge dragon eyes looking towards him, the strong feeling of loneliness in my heart was immediately dispelled. He may be eager to summon a creature to accompany him. In addition to enhancing your own safety, more importantly, to seek companionship. Although they are insects, they have no emotions though. But, they will always be with you. They will never betray themselves. Returning to the bed, Qin Tian slowly fell asleep. There is a giant dragon guarding outside the house. A strong sense of security, even if you let it sleep, there was still a smile on his face that he couldn't help but show. Compared to Qin Boy's peaceful sleep, the city of linen, shrouded in darkness, seemed extremely busy. That dragon roar, I am destined to have a sleepless night. Within Hakufu, figures flashed by from time to time. On weekdays, some weak maids and humble servants, they all turned into nimble black shadows. Some climbed over the high wall, some walk on the rooftops, each at the fastest speed, pass on the scene that was seen earlier. Roar. The next morning, a dragon roar was heard again in Yubo's mansion. The whiptail dragon flapped its wings and rushed into the sky. Above, Qin Tian lowered his body slightly. Turning his head, he looked down at the city of linen which was getting smaller and smaller. Feeling the cool breeze blowing towards you. I feel indescribably happy. Manifest the consciousness body on the planet to face the Zerg creatures under his command. And the outside world can personally control a giant dragon and soar in the sky. It always feels different. Until it flies up to a certain height, the whiptail dragon slowed down. Presenting a parallel and stable flying posture. Qin Tian, who was sitting on his back, twisted his body. During a violent takeoff, two of the three whiptails of the whip dragon stretched forward. The interweaving forms a structure similar to a seat belt. Secure Qin Tian firmly on your back. At this time, it made him feel a little uncomfortable. The next moment, without waiting for Qin Tian to give orders, there is no conscious communication either. The whiptail dragon immediately loosened the binding force of its whiptail slightly. Hee. It's true, we are so in tune with each other. Qin Tian chuckled. Gently stroked the cold shell on the back of the whiptail dragon in front of him. The creator summoned his creatures to the outside world. It seems that I can form a stronger bond with it. Even reached a kind of spiritual resonance. 10 minutes later, the whiptail dragon landed in a deep mountain. The huge body covered a large area of trees and vegetation was crushed. The fierce aura permeated his body. It even scared away all the birds and animals in the entire area in an instant. He left the mansion early in the morning riding the whip-tailed dragon. In addition to experiencing the thrill of flying, most importantly, it was Qin Tian who sensed the message from within the planet. Sinking into consciousness, as the creator's consciousness gradually manifested above the restricted area of Mars. All the insects below immediately lowered their bodies. Dominate! Dominate! Located on the Queen Mother's side. A large group of men and women knelt on the ground and greeted them respectfully. Qin Tian dodged past, he looked at the 50 men among them. Compared to the human being who reproduced previously, these people are not physically strong. But his whole body is covered with patterns that look like black dragon scales. Lighter in color, it's like a faint tattoo that's not very noticeable. The genes of the demon dragon clan. Qin Tian thought of the group of magic dragons under Lin Tianyang. During the big competition, after every battle, he hardly needs to give orders. The warrior insects or whiptail dragons under his command would drag back some of the corpses of the other species. In his eyes, this is a series of events. But in the simple thinking of Zerg creatures, it is a hunt to fight for survival again and again. The hunt is over and the spoils are dragged away, it's their instinct. Soon, Qin Tian then heard the Queen Mother's confirmation. The 50 men in front of me, it is mainly based on the dragon gene. It was evolved with some wild beast and Zerg genes. Qin Tian didn't pay much attention to the dragon guards that he was going to summon. Instead, he immediately came to the only woman who was kneeling in the field. The woman has fair skin, the facial features are very suitable for the word beautiful. But her temperament is not as delicate and weak as that of ordinary human women. Instead, it is filled with a touch of arrogance and coldness. Like a queen high above, it makes people dare not look up. Even though Qin Tian, the master, was in front of him, it also gave him a feeling of no strangers allowed. This is not disrespectful. But I was born this way. This is what Qin Tian asked the Queen Mother yesterday. After getting confirmation from the Queen Mother, a kind of command reproduction, a humanoid creature evolved entirely from Zerg genes. Think a little, with her unique ability, and a naturally cold and arrogant temperament that looks down on everything. Qin Tian named it, Parasite Queen.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.